All right, I don't know if this fucking thing is working because it's yelling at me for like being oriented as locked, rotate device back or some bullshit like that. So welcome. I kind of fucked up that intro, but the whole point being playing an acoustic guitar intro is to kind of segue into the subject of today. So that was a piece that's going to be a Crucified Mortals intro. Now I say intro with like quotes like that because like essentially like it's an acoustic guitar piece. So like on a metal record, like that has to be something else. Keyword like or keywords rather like has to be. And so like for instance like one of the things that I absolutely love about like making a record like so many things really, but like once the songs are like done and then like you got to figure out like, well, all right, how are these gonna like piece together and like how do you make a record, you know, the song order and really sometimes the flow then, you know, kind of changes when you hear the songs like go together. And so more recently for me, like liking like to kind of approach things in that way and like really think about like the order of songs. Most recently, at least for myself, like putting out a record, that would have been 2016 with the Crucified Mortals release of Psalms of the Dead Choir. And one of the ideas on that too is like, you know, loving this concept of like trying to like maybe bridge the gap where like songs in that regard kind of flow together, you know, like it's like, all right, cool, let's take the title of the album and then like really explore it. So like in this case, if the album's called Psalms of the Dead Choir, well like these songs then and this presentation that you're gonna like experience as a listener of this album then is essentially like the dead in this case, this choir that are all dead, are like presenting it to you then. And so like if it was like a live like sense, like a playback and an experience, like they wouldn't really talk to you. They're like, you know, there'd be like ways in between the songs themselves. So I thought it was really cool then because it's like, you know, you have your song order, but then like sometimes like you don't really like certain songs will or will not work in that order unless somehow you bridge that gap. Hence the intro stuff. And so like, yeah, in a world of metal, like if you play something that's not really heavy, it's either like, you know, something very distinct in like a song itself, perhaps like maybe like a ballad or something. But it just almost becomes like something else. And I say it in quotes then because like in my opinion anyway, like noodling around with like that as an idea and like as a piece that I want to put on the next album, I don't think like I think it'd be kind of cool like throw you off and like not put it as an intro per se. So like the first song or something or the first of something that gives it as like an introduction, but more so like throw you off. Like maybe, you know, song one, like you press play on the album and it hits the ground ripping, you know? That by like song two, then after you just got punched in the face by a ripping tune, then all of a sudden it brings it down a tad, and then you do have like an intro sequence anyway, as far as the second song is concerned. But you see where my point is, like there's so much you can essentially do with like the playback of like how a record flows, and it's fucking fun. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite aspects. I mean, overall, recording is just the best part. Like, that's why I play guitar. That's why I've ever made music. Like, I love just when one of the most just coolest moments you could experience is like for the first time when like you hear you know, no matter how long you've even been like playing music, like when you hear like your idea for the first time come through those monitors and like you just get to hear like a raw balance and really can just press play for the first time on an idea and really just let it play and soak up like how it really sounds, all those ideas that you put forth and really micromanaged and like wanted to see like how this little thing, like you can escape all those thoughts, just press play, listen. Fucking awesome. Love that stuff. And so that's where I get on today's rant, because like, we live in a world of like all these different ways to consume music, and it's not like it's bad, but it's different, because if you go back to like before with like just music in general, it's obviously freaking really old. So obviously because of technology, like, and like not like internet talk now, like, the technology of today, like let's go back like 100 years when like recorded music was like a brand new thing. I love fucking John Carpenter. Hence the Escape from New York thing. Did you know that Kurt Russell played Elvis in 1978? I think right before John Carpenter did Halloween, he did a 3-hour Elvis. It literally was just called Elvis, and Kurt Russell played Elvis. And the reason why I bring that up, not that I'm a raging Elvis fan, I'm very much not. I don't really have a problem with it, it's just not my thing. And but it's that film and watching that like there was a scene that essentially it starts out with like young Elvis, and like he's on like a plantation, wherever the fuck in Mississippi, I'm assuming some prerequisite facts about Elvis. So, like, the point being, though, like, this would have been essentially, like, the early days of, like, recorded music. Like, and so, like, it becomes a product at some point, because this early Elvis analogy that I'm using in the John Carpenter movie, young Elvis is sitting on a plantation, and his whole family and people that are on this plantation, whatever the hell their relation is, and if family or not, like they all were just like sitting around, it's nighttime, it's after dinner, and like they're just fucking singing songs together. So like music was different. Like we the experience of music was like just a way different concept. And then at some point we figured out how we can record music. And even that kind of took on different faces, right? Because like if you think of like a 50s diner, let's say, with like a jukebox and the big center hole 7 inches, like, that would have been a different technology of like advertising music, a single, not so much an album, right? Because then an album is like a different concept than a single. So like we've gone through different iterations of like how to experience music as a product. So I think that now, if you fast forward today, like that product has really been turned on its head, and it has like so many different ways that it can be essentially addressed, I guess, as the artist, but really then for what that means as like the fan, the consumer, the person going through the experience. And like, it's almost like we kind of gloss over that. So like, because then it kind of takes me to like, especially, metal and stuff. So if you've heard of them, great. I'm not going to really go elaborate and tell you about a band that you may or may not have heard of, but there's a Canadian like doom heavy metal band called Goathorn. And I remember on their record, and probably 1,000 bands of the like, but just this band in specific, really awesome band, Goathorn again. That on their record, it was probably, I don't know, let's say it was 2006 that the record came out. And it said something to the effect of like, buy physical media because, digital's killing music. So, Goathorn aside, like there was an overarching like ideology in the early days of like when things started to go digital music wise, that people were like kind of worried, like what would that do to me as like this record collector, this CD collector, this fucking collector of music, some way, shape, or form. And here we are, like on the other side of all that, like, I said it was around 2006. So, 19 years ago, it's changed. We're on the other side of like what digital music looks like. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, what it looks like is not only like a monetary, like how can musicians be musicians, how can bands be bands and, thrive and pay the bills. That's something, yes, but it's more so like the experience too. Like, you know, to Goathorn's defense, like, saying, hey, you got to buy physical media. Well, then nothing essentially changed. Like, if you're the guy that bought the record on the other end, you're the guy that bought the CD on the other end. But when that kind of threat that most people kind of saw digital perhaps being, like it's going to kill the physical medium, well, we're on the other side of it, and then it didn't exactly do that. It kind of changed like what we do to even experience the physical media. And a little bit more on that later, because there's a lot to say there, which is entirely the meat and potatoes of like my rant of today. But before you get there, like if you were to think about that, like essentially, like, before there was ever a thing of recorded music and then that became a thing, there kind of really probably wasn't really an idea of like an album then, right? Like maybe a photo album, maybe an album of other sort of, what is an album at that point? A collection of sorts? So like a song album, then a music album would have been a new idea at some point in time, and likely around when like music, recorded music became a thing. And so like as an artist then, as a band that's putting out a record, you would have focused, and a lot of bands have, like let's use, Pink Floyd or something, kind of crazier that like, that you notably know that like they would go to like great lengths to put in sound effects and stuff. Like it would have been all about like that playback of experience. Like here's a group of songs, like, it's an experience at that point. An experience that would have, probably originated as far as like playing it live. But eventually we figured out how like, hey, we can capture this then, and then we can now make a product of it. And then now it's an album. And so we've gone through iterations and ages of that idea, that now that we're here on the other side of digital, not so much being a threat of like the goat horde sense that literally says, buy physical media, you're killing music. Otherwise, like clearly it's kind of here to stay if you're just fine sitting there on Spotify, downloading your favorite album. And in a lot of ways that doesn't make you any less or more of a music fan if you do or don't buy the physical media. You have a choice at this point. So there, and everything in that, group, everything I just said is, plenty of examples of like at least the change aspect of it. Because from my perspective then, like if you're just like a Spotify lover or whatever like digital platform, where a lot of that is like that short attention span social media accusation that they say is, most people's minds of now, or, people have short attention spans. Well then, do you even have the attention span to listen to a full album? Maybe not, I don't know. But in a lot of ways too, then like advertising an album, like you don't give somebody the full album to listen to. I mean, I guess, there's free download streaming on Bandcamp before you buy it kind of crap. Put all that like a little bit more technical crap to the side and just bear with like the fact that if it's just straight up you're consuming digitally or buying an album, like the digital aspect, maybe you pay for a premium service, there is or isn't an ad, but the point being like there could be an ad. Therefore, if there's these could be's, there's these parameters of like things that may or may not happen. Those are different than just grabbing a needle and pressing play on the record, and then however long the record lasts, or at least until it comes to flipping the record to the next side, like your experience is different digitally. You might have to spend extra money, so then it can equate to the record, but there's like a zillion different ways you can consume records. So as somebody that has created those records, one of the things that kind of sucks, but going back to what I said, like you play in a cool like little acoustic, you're in a metal band, and then an acoustic piece is your intro, it's your interlude. The Crucified Mortal Psalms of the Dead Choir album. When it's on a record, it's all right, cool. Like we know that the listener is going to get from song 1 to song 2. So if we want to bridge the gap between the two, well, how are we going to do it? Is that acoustic piece going to be technically song 2 then, because there's song 2, acoustic piece is song 2, or I'm sorry, there's song 1 and then there's acoustic piece of song 2 and then there's the third song and it bridges the gap. So maybe it's just a short song. Maybe it's the tail end of song 1. Maybe it's the beginning of song 2. Like, there's ways you can slide and put these ideas. On a record, might not matter so much until it gets to like the last song on a side. And that's why I use the Crucified Mortals album as an example, because for one, that's one of the cool, like, I think the moment in which I personally, as an artist, got to, like, really delve into that idea. I don't know, I just like, you know, a record's overall playback. You focus on the order of the songs, you focus on, like, all right, like, I like the order, but, like, there'd be something cooler, you know, to kind of, like, get you psyched for the next tune. Or much like this example, like when you get to side B of it, like all the songs on side A were kind of like intertwined by these like little interludes. Where you get to side B, well then that purposefully, the last song on side A to the first song on side B, like there's nothing in between. Like it's over and then flip the record. There's a moment of silence. But when you're then thinking, okay, this is going to come out on a CD, maybe not so much on a cassette because you could mimic the same thing, well, then the CD essentially is going to have that gap, right? Like, we're not going to put an intro on that, or will we? Like, maybe it'll be a CD exclusive intro gap that's through that. Like, because then otherwise, like, when you're flipping a record, going from side A to side B, you're going to maybe lose momentum, that it doesn't make sense. See, there's a lot more to start thinking about, like, when this idea happens. But that's just between the media aspect, the formats of it that like make it, you know, that way. Insert digital though, like a Spotify event, playback of a full album. Never mind that when you get to side B, like when you get to one song, one of the most annoying ads in the world will probably kick in. You know, at this point, I don't use Spotify or like any sort of digital platform other than I just, you know, I have YouTube Premium, which is just the equivalent, you know, you've been on there. I don't need to explain it to you. So I don't know, like maybe some of the platforms, they might disturb you so much because everything is the annoy you until you fucking pay culture. So maybe at this point, there's an ad in the middle of a song. I would sincerely hope not. Nonetheless, that like if you're trying to bridge the gap in between songs, that if you're listening to it on a Spotify, you'd have to consider that maybe there's going to be an abrupt break because there's going to be this stupid McDonald's ad or whatever shit in between your songs and throw this off. Or if it was like what I was saying, where it's like you got song 1, the acoustic piece, that's song 2, and then song 3. Maybe now you got a reason of why that acoustic piece that you do want to be like heard and attached to this song and not so much attached to that song, or maybe it is attached to this song. The point being, it would flush out perhaps the idea of it being a song on its own, just because we live in a culture of absolutely annoy you until you pay for the premium, that you won't get that same playback experience. You as the artist got to start thinking about this shit if you give enough of a fuck, and I do. And I definitely remember that being the thing with the Crucified Mortal Songs of the Dead Choir. So that's why, like, all the little interlude stuff, they're not pieces of their own. They're always attached to the last part of the song. Because then again, too, it's just not like, you know, you think about like, hey, if like Press or something's like, this is the greatest single off this album. And then you press play and it's got this long fucking, you know, acoustic piece or something. Well, then that might not be the best way about it. You might want it just to rip out the gate. So then you put it at the end of the other song. Like, so it makes you reconfigure. And it's a can of worms, man. It's a can of worms. And it's not exactly the worst thing ever, but if nothing else, it kind of, well, for one, then I do think that it's put like the physical media in a different place. Like different place as in like wouldn't just so much like, you know, now that vinyl, it's been long back. I'm not gonna be that guy that's like, oh my God, records are alive. Like clearly, if you've been around here, like you know, where I've been with the side of that coin. But like, if you were to think about it, that yeah, like if you were to buy a record nowadays, like you essentially have a choice whether or not to buy the record. And I think because of the mindset, perhaps, of like digital will kill music, or we don't like Spotify, vinyl only, brown, and you know, shit like that, that now it's almost like we have unnecessary records. That like, look, if you're a music fan and you like it, like I'm a music fan, I like it. But like, I don't entirely need 20 versions of a record that I like. And I think that's kind of where, yes, it's been that way for a while. But like, if you were to think about back to my Elvis analogy of like whether, records are records, like, I don't really think that shit, man. I couldn't even tell you the name of an Elvis album to keep this analogy going. But let's just, assume that we all get the same thing. It's an artist putting out a record in a period of time where that was just the physical format. That now, like, it's not just the physical format, but it's a cool format and people do records. But then they do the black vinyl, then they do the yellow vinyl, then they do the, the alternate cover and all this. In a lot of ways, like, that's overkill. Like, it's unnecessary, and it's a way that, like, if you're minded in, like, oh, digital's killing music, it's like a makeup for lost revenue, I suppose. At least that's kind of what I'm look at it as. Because, like, it's all cool and well to be like, oh my God, I got my, Persecution Mania on orange vinyl, and then I got the original. Like, yeah. But, like, it's just kind of like, it's clutter. And that's what I mean by the title of this video, like, being, like, almost a minimalist, man. Like, for me, like, I like buying records. I don't need to buy 10 of the same thing. All I can do, which, by the way, shout out to Tommy for Redefining Darkness, the producer, producing, not this video, clearly, because nobody produced this shit. It's off the cuff. But so, like, I got a late Christmas present yesterday, Reanimator soundtrack. So, like, I like fucking records. The soundtrack's a little bit different than the metal thing that I'm talking about, but it's the same point that, like, I don't need 10 of these. Like, why would I need 10 of these? Like, they're going to have the same cover. They're going to have the same music. They're going to probably have this or that. Maybe they won't. They might have, like, a booklet or something that's new. But it's just, like, kind of like the whole point that I even have this artwork, the whole point I have these liner notes, the whole point that I have, what color vinyl is this? We'll find out together. I mean, that's cool. All right, cool. But, like, if this was black, like, I don't need to go find out if there's a black one. I don't need to, because at that point, like, it's not about the music. It's not about the artwork. It's not about any of the artistry. It's like, it's literally, in my opinion, like, if you seek out, like, oh my God, I need all 10 versions. There's a black one, there's a purple one, there's a yellow one, there's a red one, there's a, keep going because I said 10. Like, I don't need all those. You don't need all those. Why would you? Because the only difference is, like, you get a different color circle. Like, if you really think about it, like, that's the absurdity of it. That's what I'm pointing out, hence the minimalist thing. Because then it's just like, even your record, collecting mind, like, you just want to be entertained and listen to a record you like, and now you're being, like, sold 10 times over a fucking different color circle that even when you get and you love it and it changed your life and you're so happy, it came in the mail, I waited a month, it smells like seaweed, and now here it fucking is. It's a Christmas present. Yes! You get it? Fuck yeah. Stick it on your record shelf and that's it. You know what I mean? You already heard the record. So it's like the excitement value, the reason why I was ever even there is already over with though. It's not new to you anymore. And so back to my, putting, records together, and I love, like, the order, and then you can figure out, hey, I can put an intro here, maybe this and that, or an acoustic piece, blah, 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 the Chris My Mortals record. Or records like it, really. It's like, it's kind of depressing then to think that, like, people, your fans are consuming the record and, like, you're happy about that, but then you have to face the reality, like, but are they experiencing it like I intended? Like, are they getting, that flow from intro into then the next song, because that intro wasn't a song of its own. It was the back end of the first track that then you have to play the next track. Like, you might have not even played it in the right order. You may have played it in the right order, but then the annoying YouTube ad kicks in and then breaks the flow, and then God forbid, and this has happened to me, like, you don't even know what's, like, this record's kind of sucks. Like, oh, it's an ad. Like, what the fuck? Like, that last song was raging, and all of a sudden it's got, horrible YouTube music, oh, it's an ad, like sometimes the ad could blend into it. It's all about the experience, right? So yes, sometimes like the ad can fuck it up. And that's what I'm saying. It's just, I don't know what word I'm looking for of disproportions. It's not positive. Let's just say that. So it's dis of some sort of many sorts probably. That like as somebody that's like focused, grave detail, the order of the songs, like how they're gonna bridge the gap, and hoping like the listener is going to get that. Like you're taking somebody on an experience. That was the whole point of recorded music. And now here we are. And so like that, but then like we have to buy like a zillion versions because like, realistically, like there's essentially greed. And it's just unnecessary. So needless to say, like as the guys, so let's continue on this Crucified Mortals Psalms of the Dead Choir rant. Because when it came out to that come out on vinyl, like it's like, what color vinyl you want it to be on? Gray. It'll go with the cover art. For those of you who don't know, let me go grab a copy. Because I just really want to illustrate this point. Like, doesn't matter. You could disregard everything I say tonight, and that's fine. Like, I'm not like trying to change the world with it. We're having fun. It's Saturday. We're fucking chatting. But nonetheless, like, when it came to putting this out on vinyl, it's like, well, what color do you want the record to be? Well, there's a lot of gray going on. So gray, let's make it gray. But that's the only color. That's the only color. There's no blue. There's no, green. Because sometimes some of this shit doesn't even make sense. Like, why is it this color? Like this is like a dominantly black and white, and then there's a gray. Like, so then gray makes sense as a vinyl color. So nonetheless, like it's like we're doing one color only. And when this sells out, and if another label were like, hey, we want to put this out on vinyl, if not Hell's Headbangers themselves or Reaper Metal Productions, I don't know. I haven't had to think about repressing it. But like when I perhaps do, hopefully I do, like it's going to be gray again, like, or silver rather. I guess silver vinyl would be more what the color is. But, gray, silver, but silver to a degree because it's kind of mimicking the metallic that's happening right here. Either way, like, I don't want to distract people to have to buy that, because then it's like, you press more copies. Why are you pressing more copies? Because like you sold out. Like there's demand then. New people aren't going to get to hear it. New vinyl collectors aren't going to get to own it on vinyl. But we don't need to put it on a different color. Just make more available. And that's actually, back to the Elvis analogy, or really just, 80s metal and shit like that. Like, then when vinyl was the only format, the only choice, like, sure, it makes me think of a Rolling Stones album that my dad had when I was a kid. Sticky Fingers, I think it was called, where it has, like, the jeans on the cover. And, like, then there was a zipper on those jeans. Like, it wasn't, I'm pretty sure, I didn't really do research before bringing it up, but I'm pretty sure, like, when that Rolling Stones Sticky Fingers album came out, it wasn't like, get the jean zipper version and get the non-jean zipper version, but and then get the jean zipper version with the jean colored vinyl. Like, nope, black vinyl, jean zipper on it, that was it. It stood out from other albums of rock and roll music, but didn't have to stand out from itself to con you into buying it 20 times over of the same fucking album. And I just don't know how anybody that's like an artist of any sort, but a musician in this case, like that they're just kind of like down for that. Like it just, it takes away from the idea. And like it's a cash grab, and like if you're in this for cash, like I don't think it's bad. I'm not poo-pooing that. Like if you can make some sort of living off of it, I mean I do to some degree, I guess. Not so much like from my bands directly. It all goes into like a revenue source of many different things. But so it's overall a music career as far having a label, Reaper Metal Productions, and then do records and blah blah blahs. But nonetheless, like that's kind of my answer to not wanting to saturate my own shit with like doing what I feel that the industry kind of like demands of you. And if you love it, like that's fine. I'm not like talking down on you. I mean, it's your wallet. You're the one that's gonna be broken. You're the one that's gonna be I mean, how is that not a sucker? You're like, as far as like the person selling to you, the label selling to you the same damn thing, only a different color circle. Like if you, in my opinion, strip it down to that, as I did, then like it kind of really highlights the absurdity that I'm trying to point out, because like it was there to, you know, replicate music that would like, and then music was like didn't exist to be different colors of circles. You know, the shapes at some point never even mattered. Like, you know, that would have been a mystery at some point when, you know, in medieval times when they're playing fucking mandolins and whatever the hell instruments that would have been of the time, you know, in the music that would have been of 1600s. You know what I mean? Like, it took a long time. Music was around a long fucking time and being performed and enjoyed, not on a record. So, like, we're at a point that, like, yeah, like, recorded music is a product and we're being fucking duped. Some people willingly, and they love it, and they wouldn't want to have it any other way. And I'm not trying to make you feel like shit if you're one of those people. I'm just saying, like, as a creator of it, though, a musician and a person that, like, put a lot of effort into it, that's not my intention. I don't want to see somebody buying 10 versions of my same. In fact, I'm kind of discouraged when somebody, like, dude, if you're gonna buy 10 copies of my same album, like, please give 9 of them away then, like, because you know friends that you want it and you want to stuck their stockings with one of your favorite bands, like, but don't hold on to them then. Now that's 9 less people. And then if your type of person that buys 10 records of the same thing exists 100 times over, the whole pressing is now, you know what I mean? I haven't had a record that was 1,000 copies myself personally, so 100 times over, shit, like, you know, that would have been 1,000 copies. And so it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it takes away from other people that would want to, like, and then the thing, like, because that's what it was kind of for in a way, right? Like, I mean, what for me, it wasn't like, you know, to reach ears. That's secondary. You know, you do it for yourself and you want to see it come alive. But yeah, like it's fucking cool and people can listen to it. And so the more the merrier in that regard. And yeah, like all this nerd bullshit, getting the extra this, the extra that, and then some guys like harboring all these copies, like it's taken away from that person getting the copy. And then especially like, oh, that's fine and well. Okay, the record did well. There's a bunch of dorks that bought 10 fucking copies of it and we made our money. But if we weren't money minded in the first place, well, then we're very minded in the reality that, like, yeah, I want people to listen to it, not hanging on their wall. Like, picture discs are cool, but for one, they sound like shit in comparison to the silver or the gray. And like, if there's one nerdy detail, because I know there's a lot of like vinyl nerds out there that are like, well, black vinyl sounds better than colored. And perhaps I didn't entirely do that too much to test. But if you do play a picture disc, like you're not going to have to go far until like testing the reality. Like play a picture disc and then play a black vinyl of something or a colored vinyl of something. Play a non-picture disc. I guarantee you, and it doesn't have to be the same thing where like you're comparing the same thing, A and B. Like you will notice that the picture disc is like loud as fuck when there's not even any music going on. So like that loud as fuck surface noise doesn't go away when the music's playing, so therefore it's eating at your signal, and it's, you know, it's shitty. Nothing against picture discs. They're awesome, they look good on the wall, but in a way, if that's all that your album came out on, I'd be severely disappointed. I've had records come out on only picture disc. I've had records come out on like, you know, virgin vinyl, like, you know, it makes me think of like these rare Nunslaughter records that, you know, dude, I spent like weeks and hours and stuff that not only performing on, learning the songs so you could play them well, and then I was the guy that recorded it. I was the guy that printed the covers. I was the guy that did extra shit, and then when it finally comes out, you know, it's limited to 100 copies, and then like there's a sticker on it, like, don't open me, I'm a virgin, and don't play me. And it's just like, well, by fuck, don't play me. Like, well, like, what the fuck? Like, well, then why did I care on what it sounded like? What, like, come on, you know, why did it, like, I shouldn't even worried about what how I performed it then. Like, it didn't matter. Just slap, you know, the band name on it and then sell this turd to somebody. And that's kind of what I'm saying. But nonetheless, either, like, if the title of this rant is being a minimalist record collector, moi, in a way, I've kind of found that. Like, I've owned so many records, you know, that, like, you forget that I've owned them to the point of, like, this and that. It ain't to sound cool or anything like that. It's just to reassure you, I've had experience with this. I've thought about it a lot. And as being a music fan, as being a record collector, like, it just kind of bothers me. Like, because for nothing else, like, if I had 10 copies of the same record, which I don't, other than maybe a Crucify Mortals or something I'm on, but not even that. Like, when it comes to stuff I'm on, I do have nostalgic, so I'll keep 2 copies. I always say one for spinning, one for storing. And if it's my own record, how often am I really even spinning it? So both are kind of more so for being stored. But I will listen to it. I'm not really that guy that will never listen to his own music. I do. But it just takes away from it. And if nothing else, like, at the end of the day, like, I like collecting records. You like collecting records. But, like, too many records, man, like, it turns into freaking clutter. Like, so it is in some ways, I'm proposing, like, kind of a status thing, right? Like, is it really, like, if you really break it down, like, yes, it is. I know. I'm not entirely preaching to the choir or you know, telling anything new. I get we're all in, like, kind of the same boat and mindset, but I'm sharing mine that, like, I'm sure you got to be like me then, that, like, it's cool and it's well, and then if you get your 10 copy in, even as exciting as it is, it's like, it's honestly the anticipation and the opening of the box. That's why in a world of YouTube, unboxing videos are a thing. Because even if you didn't buy the junk, you like watching somebody else open it, and once it's open, you kind of don't give a fuck. Maybe you did go ordering on it. Oh, that's cool too. And then you want to relive it. But for the most part, the reason why you're appeased by a boxing video is everything I'm saying right now. It's the anticipation. It's like getting a product. Because therefore, if you bought 10 of the same damn thing and the only thing is the different color of circle, like, you're still going to open this up. You might have the biggest fucking boner in the world when you do. But once it's open, you're going to do this. And then stick it on your shelf. When's the next time you're taking all 10 copies down? When's the next time you're taking 1 copy down? Because that's probably the most likely this that you would do of 10 copies of the same record that have different colors, is pick out 1. Like, are you really going to orchestrate, like, dude, that fucking Crucified Mortals was so good. Tomorrow, I'm going to listen to the green LP. Then the day after, I'm going to listen to the picture disc. Neither exist, a picture disc or a green of Songs of the Dead Choir. But if they did, I would sincerely hope no one's doing that and they're just listening to the record. Like, however it's getting into your ears and you're listening to it through the playback, through the experience, that was the whole point of ever even doing this record from my artistic standpoint, and I think a lot from others. Like, I would sincerely hope that's the case, because it's very depressing kind of thing that somebody snagged 10 potential copies of other, brand new listeners just to stick them on a shelf and then come up with some nerd-ass ritual, if and when they even do come up with one, because I highly doubt that they're even doing that. And it's just like, yeah, because then it's like, it's fucking clutter at that point. Like, you have, like, if you only had, like, a finite amount of space, well, I think we all have finite amounts of space, but, like, if you had more critical, a critically less available amount of space to devote to your record collection, and you're going to waste it to 10 copies of the same damn thing, of then however many bands you like, and if you did rinse and repeat for everything you like, you bought 10 of the same thing, like, you'd be really eating into that space. Therefore, my point of clutter, like, it eventually turns into clutter, and, like, it's just, I don't know, like, that's not a fun record experience to me. And, maybe I'm slightly suffering more of, like, caring about the clutter aspect of things than maybe everybody else, because I would say, and to some degree, I am slightly a minimalist. Like, my living room echoes. I love it. My bedroom has a fucking bed, a chair, and a side table. And it's one of the biggest bedrooms, like, it's about as big as my living room. And I don't need all this space. I didn't design the house, but hey, it's just to say, like, I don't want to fill it with shit. I like just bed, chair, functionality, done. So record collection, I want to just, C section. CM, here it is, cool, put it on the player, we're good to go. R section, Reanimator, Thanks, Tommy. Love the Christmas gift. Only one copy. Don't need 10. One color. It looks really fucking cool. It's, it matches the color scheme on there. Great. Happy. Put it in the R section. I'll listen to it on Halloween after I listen to it today because I just got it. Like that. I know where it is. I know how to find it. It's like the sock drawer. I don't want my socks disoriented. I don't want my silverware disoriented. I want to be able to find it. I want to be able to find my records. I want to be able to find my guitars. I want to be able to find shit. Like that's the minimalist record aspect I'm talking about. Like I don't want all this junk. Now, that's me and I get it. And I do appreciate people that are kind of dorks. I know it seems contradictory. It makes me think of last Sunday. I was here. I live in Akron, Ohio. So there's this dude that I guess he's from here and he lived in L.A. and he's a big horror movie collector. So lived in L.A., did whatever hell in Hollywood fame and industry. Had a career in Hollywood. Comes back here and then he opened up basically a horror museum. And so I went there, they're about to launch and so they were doing a pre, you do tours of it. So I had an advance go through because then I don't know, I think it's at the end of the month that they're going to be launched. I digress. Because then going there, I just it was cool for one, but then it made me think very much of this minimalist ideology, or at least if that's just me, and it's fine that other people are like that, well then I'm glad this guy likes to dork out and need the 10 different copies of the different colors, because at least it's his storage, at least it's his purpose that serves him to whatever degree, that now that he opened a museum, I don't have to hold on to Michael Myers toys, or as I call them, clutter, that now I can just pay my admission, go to a cool museum, oh shit, I remember that, I had one of those. Because as I was looking at certain things and that I had, that little heart of whatever the fuck that kind of creeps up in your instincts was kind of shit, man, that's cool, should I really have gotten rid of it? And then my sound self was just yeah, it's fine, man. You just paid your admission, you got to see it, you relived the childhood, and then we're done. I don't need to. And I appreciate that this guy created this museum that I can go to, pay an admission, and then leave. Let him dust off the Predator toys. Let him find out where, the little Michael Myers knife fell on the toy on the floor. It's I don't know. I don't need to be this way, but I'm not any less of a fan either. And that's also part of the point, and even bothering to bring it up, fun conversation to have, yes. But in a way, I think it almost becomes a defining thing too, that as scenesters, people use that as a cool card then, that they're elite more than dude, I've got 10 copies, you have one, or you just listen to it digitally. If you listens to it, then you're not, how are you any less of a fan than the last guy? I mean, yeah, I guess the person that would give forth space of their house and money to them buy 10 copies of the same record isn't a bigger fan, but that's kind of where it becomes some sort of stupid mental gameplay, really, because that's what most people would probably assume. But that's the key word, assume. Because then it's a fucking cool card that you use purposefully because people will assume you're cooler than you really are. And what a pathetic bastard you must really be if 10 copies of a fucking record is what makes you go to bed restful at night, that you're an outstanding person. It's stupid. It's a cash grab, and as an artist, I absolutely kind of do not like it. And just to really share, I'm off the cuff, man, and I'm really diving deep on stuff that I don't know. I guess there's a point in time, because okay, so one of the thoughts that just kind of hit me right now too, if you're on the other end watching a guy that essentially runs a record label that put out records that just yesterday said, hey, buy a package deal of 3 CDs for $6.66, I'm selling you on the idea of buying a record. However, none of the Reaper Metal releases have 20 different colors. There were a few because they sold out that then the band wanted to put them out on like a different color. Not so much my call, but whatever, I get it. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world. Go fuck that person that wants 10 different colors. I'm just saying I'm not going to be one of those people that are going to buy the same record 10 times over. So, like, it might be kind of hypocritical of me to be saying this stuff, but then again, if it's hypocritical, I also think it's maybe blunt and an honest thing to do, that if, like, I feel this way, which I do, then, yeah, fucking say this shit. And, make your own opinions about it. Like, it really isn't really anything more than just to have a conversation, however you want to take of this. If you want to take something more serious about it, if it, I don't know, makes you find some sort of shit, man, maybe I do have a problem with holding on to things or whatever. If you could learn something deeper about my remarks about yourself, then great. Otherwise, like, I don't intend it to be this big deep thought, although it's been about 45 minutes of the thought. So either way, though, I think we're in this weird, like, shift of like what recorded music really is meant to be, to where it's like really turn into a product times a product times a product kind of thing. And it's just not meant to be that way. And we can still all be like equal fans jamming out cool records, especially in a world of digital. Like, if you want an echoey freaking living room like I do, like, it doesn't mean that you can't have some records in it. It doesn't mean that you can't have a ton of records in it. It might still be echoey, but like it means that like you don't need to be that. Like, if you're jamming the tunes and you're giving it the time of day and you're appreciating them, then how is that any less of a fan? Because yeah, that's just kind of like, I think, where we're at. But I do kind of like, in a way, I haven't really like divulged too much in it, but I see a lot of like bands and stuff, utilizing where we're at with technology. We're like, instead of selling you, on like the times 10 version of the same exact record, like bands are doing like, hey, you can like I have a Patreon, right? Like, so it's not so much all about Crucified Mortals here on Reaper Metal, although I obviously lump it in as a guy in that band, but like, the same logic, though, is that, like, here I am doing a live stream worth, like, if you're on the Patreon thing, like, you'll get more. Not more, like, physical shit. Granted, you'll get a discount to, like, buying stuff, physical stuff. But, like, people, like, bands and stuff then are taking, like, what that whole patronage ideology and not just sticking to, like, we have to make 10 colors of the same damn record, and using technology then to let those like Uber fans like get more of an experience. The keyword's experience. And so that's what I think, like, yeah, the zillion color record that forces you to buy the same thing. Because, it would be one thing that, like, because a lot of these folks, they're not even like, it's like the record just came out and there's 20 different versions. Because it would be one thing if there was like a classic record that's 30 plus years old and like it just sold out that many times over, that my logic of like, well, just replicate more of the same product of the black vinyl or the Crucified Mortals example, the silver vinyl. Like, anytime you repress this thing throughout the next 30 years, put it on silver vinyl. Like, don't change it up. You're just appeasing the lack of product to then the demand, supply and demand, right? Like, we're beyond supply and demand with music products, I'm saying. And so, like, with the technology aspect of now, a lot of bands and stuff are, like, at least, like, delving into what even buying a record was ever, from its fundamental source, like, diving deeper into the experience stuff. That if you're such an uber dork that, like, you can go beyond than the guy that's just watching this live stream and then have a further experience, because then you didn't need to buy like 10 different colors of a record, although that might be on the side of it. Bullshit products are another one too. I mean, puzzles of your favorite album. I mean, give me a break. Especially in this day, like, because especially if we're talking about like Patreons and digital things that could otherwise further the experience more directly. Like, maybe you get a one-on-one call. I don't know. I've never divulged into it, so I wouldn't even be able to guess like what people do. So I'm guessing from here forward that, like, yeah, if you were like in a band that you were selling like your new album experience further to be like the diehard, maybe you get like a Skype call or something that the average guy doesn't get. Like, at least that value is something far more exclusive than just the other color. Like, it just kind of makes no sense. And it's just like bleeding people dry of potentially listening to other records that they could have in their, not infinite amount of space to store their record collection. And like, if you're getting the one-on-one like interview with the band, like that's far more like beneficial and cool than like the 10 different records that, oh, cool, and then you just put it on the shelf. Like, at least you'll remember maybe you recorded the video call, like, so just kind of that. Yeah, it kind of stinks. And I certainly, as I'm embarking on new music, do not intend to put out the next Crucified Mortals record as 10 different fucking colors. It's going to take 30 years, and the fans demanding such, and nobody's been doing that in the 22 years of a Crucified Mortals history yet. Anyway, so, maybe I'll have different remarks, but no, I highly doubt it. So yeah, Clutter, Minimalist, Metalist, because then, yeah, like, imagine moving all those records. Like, I mean, look, if you have a giant collection and they're not 10 of the same copy, times 100 of different albums, and that's your thousands of records, and they're all different, and that gets you all, or realistically, if it's fine, like, yeah, you love your 10 different copies. I'm not talking down about you. I'm just saying, I think the product machine that music has become has been so ingrained that nobody even really stops to think. And then they lit that impulse of like, oh my God, INRI with the blue sky cover and not the orange. Like, I need it. That happened, by the way. Not me, but like, I don't even like that album. Fun fact. But either way, like, yeah, it's just, it's absurd. I've been ranting about 53 minutes, which I'm surprised I don't need a drink of water, which actually I kind of do. So I'm going to go grab a drink of water while I take a look at your comments. It's about to get dark as I go into the kitchen. So who's all here? Say hello if you haven't said hello thus far. Holy shit, there's a lot of comments. I don't know if I'm getting through them all, but I'm happy to see everybody's chatting. So hopefully, if I'm not getting back to you, you're at least chatting amongst yourselves. But yeah, so DNT87, yeah, dude, to me, it's all about owning the most important shit. I don't need to own every release from every band I check out or buy, every movie I like. I just want the ones I cannot live without. Yeah, exactly, and it's obviously, as I've said time and over, like, it's kind of just, essentially who you are. Like, if you're the guy starting the museum, like, cool, like, buy your 10 copies, you need it, and then I'll pay my admission, and I'll go to your museum, and I'll look at them, and then I'll leave them with you, and we'll all be happy. Like, we need those people to be like that, but it's just, yeah, I guess essentially like the industry as a whole, like, almost like pushed everybody to be like that because of, a projection of like where the industry is potentially going, being threatened by, digital, which, if anybody's thinking in those terms, like, dude, we're far beyond that narrative at this point. And, digital did not kill music. It really enabled it in a lot of ways. At least from my perspective, because, I'm like the older, the dog that's older and not too old to learn new tricks, but not too young to not, know some of the old technology. So my music experience has been very much that, like, first record put out, it's like, vinyl was at the resurgence era. But, the first Crucified Mortals didn't eventually come out on vinyl right away. It took a while, but eventually it did. So, and in a lot of ways, like that's me slightly violating everything I'm saying here today. But in those days too, like it was kind of different when things were coming out on vinyl. Like, man, there's so much I could say about that too. Like, where if you're putting out vinyl, which is analog, but then most recordings are being recorded 100% or predominantly, 80% or whatever, digitally, it's kind of ass backward then, because unless it was like recorded analog and then it's put out on an analog format, I kind of don't get it. You're going backward. I mean, I get it, but for the sake of quality, like arguably digital could technically be better on an like formats are only able to store so much information. So like digital now, you can store far more information than a record could, far more information than a DVD. Well, I guess music somewhat. Remember how like records were coming out on like 5.1 DVDs? That's kind of why I brought that up. If you do or don't. Either way, like yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. Like how much or like information standpoint. So like if you're doing a record, like yeah, it's better than a CD. But if you recorded it digitally and you were focused on the absolute utmost quality aspect of it, you could get away with more information digitally than you can on a record. It's eventually going to be, finite on how much you can put on there. So resolution, I guess, is the key there. Kind of cruising along. Metal Neanderthal, good to see you. I ain't no poser. I'm the king. He got recognized. Wow. All right, cool. That's a screen name, by the way. Carlton, hello. Andrew, good to see you. Yes, so you remember seeing the music DVDs? Yeah, like it makes me think of like Sabbath or something. Like they remixed them as like 5.1, which like Sabbath had one guitar player, bass player, a vocalist and a drummer. What the hell are you doing with a 5.1, mix? Like let's assume that nobody understands what the 5.1 means. It means 5 fucking speakers, and then one's in the center because it's a subwoofer. So like you need 5. Like what are you conveying in a recording that? No, they're not. They're stereo. But a band like Sabbath could have been so old, and bands that were on these DVD mixes, that like the recording itself wasn't even so much stereo as it would have been 5.1. Stereo would have been two speakers left and right, and then you're mixing it to kind of like put the two together to then get one signal. Whereas 5.1, same logic, only 5 fucking speakers, then you're mixing them all together. But like, why would you need to do that? Because then there's not even that much information to convey. Like you didn't need like the Doppler effect. Like, 5.1 to me like makes me think of a movie. So like, if you got bombs blowing off behind you and then the dialogue happening in the front and then a car and it travels through the speakers, like where's that happening on your Paranoid mix? Like, I mean, I guess you could, but I think I made my point. Let me take a sip of water and read these. Metal Neanderthal, yes, you're right on my logic. Record is not better than a CD. To be better, there is so many factors that have to be perfect. Stylish turntable, how clean the vinyl is, etc. And that's just scratching the surface of like, it's already consumed, you're buying it, and then now what can you as the listener do to best your experience, right? Like, yeah, if you had a record player that had like, if you have a record player that just sits on top of a counter and then you're cranking those, you're cranking that record, all that like rattle and shit that's happening throughout the rest of your house is, eventually going through the stand that your record player's on. Therefore, eventually, like it's going to loop and like that record player, the stylus, is going to pick up that circulated noise. Like it'll eventually be like a feedback loop. So like, yeah, if there's anything that you could do as a listener that already bought the record that was better or worse as far as quality to a CD, then that would be probably like one of the most fundamental things that you could do to better your listening experience is get some sort of shock absorbers to your record player so that when it is rattling throughout the house and stuff, that's not ultimately being picked up through your stylus on the other end. Because then before that and while the records were being produced, a CD and a vinyl a vinyl does have a vinyl can, not does, can, because it depends on the person that's supplying the master to be replicated by the record company. So a vinyl can, if done correctly, store more information, just let's keep it simple, than a CD can. It could have a better, more clear resolution than a CD. Because then a CD well, I mean, I guess you could go the other way and purposefully make a CD shittier. I don't know why you would. Because then a CD, like you can't go any further than, well, you can't. Okay, you can't go below. Let me back up. If you were replicating a CD, you just put out a record, and you're like the most primitive black metal band, and you're like, I want it to sound like shit, therefore I'm going to give the CD company a shit quality file so that it absolutely must be shitty. Like, you can't. You must give them, 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. No less, no more. Now, if you want it to be the horribly ass-sounding Burzum demo quality, then you would have to do that going in. Otherwise, the ass that's done and mixed and ready to be replicated for a CD must be up to those specs. It must not be beyond those specs. It must not be below those specs. So whether or not if you want it to improve, well then yes, a record, you could technically get more than information, because then you're dealing with an analog signal, and an analog signal can obviously take more information than a digital one, as is the raise of a CD. So that's where I was going with that. Totally nerdy now, but I love it. Hopefully, so if you want more nerdiness, let's keep going nerdy. But yeah, Oak's Arm, you're right. A decent hi-fi system makes a difference. Absolutely. But it's all a conglomerate effort, right? Like if it went in, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like the CD aspect would force you to have to be the spec. You can't go below it. You can't go above it. Like it just won't work. Like they won't press your shit. Whereas a record, you could supply a master that was 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz CD quality. And there's people that do that. And I wonder why they even bother to use those manufacturers, because at that point, just spend $300 on a CD. Like if the record manufacturer can't go to the stretches of what a record could offer resolution wise and quality wise, then why give them a master that's as good as it makes no sense in my mind. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Because yeah, you could go beyond that, is at least the point with that. And then especially too, and maybe CDs will do this, tapes sure have, especially with tapes sure have because of their resurgence, to where the technology, like the literal freaking analog tape that's in a cassette tape that you buy, like it ran out. Like the manufacturers that made your Megadeth Rust in Peace tape that came out in the 80s, or was that 1990 that album came out? I think it was 1990. 80s. Let's just say 80s to 90s though, when tapes were still a thing. Like the manufacturer that actually made that tape, like they ran out and they don't exist anymore. So like now that tapes are a thing, like the tapes that you buy today that are made today, they're not the same exact type of tape from the 80s. So if like you're buying so if you didn't know that and you were like, I love tapes because it makes me think of the 80s, like you're not aware of everything that's going on. And I hope you know that. And that's why you're buying your tapes, because they're better. And I think that's kind of why people like tapes, is there's like a lower-fi to them in a way and a nostalgic quality. So if that was news to you, then You might want to look at tapes differently. But yeah. So the medium has changed to even keep up with putting out an old school format. I brought that up because then records could so much do the same thing, right? Like if you're a studio, as most studios are, and you're recording digitally, like as long as you have a fast enough computer, man, like you could record 96 kilohertz, which is essentially double that of the depth ratio of a DVD or a Blu-ray. I think a Blu-ray actually could tolerate 96. Needless to say, like you're getting to like 7.1 surround sound resolution. That part I'm not too sure. I know that like a record would eventually have a moment that it's too much, but a record can definitely handle more information than the resolution to that of a CD. Because then at least arguably, if you were to record it with the fastest computer ever and do it like at the biggest resolution you could possibly, you could just then simply downgrade it to put it on a record. But there you go, keyword downgrade. Like, but not so much downgrade in like that it's shitty. Like, man, this is getting really nerdy and sophisticated, but like not so much downgrade as in shittier, more so downgrade in as in like, when you put on a movie, this film has been modified from its original, so on and so forth. That, that paragraph that comes up. Like what they're referring to is essentially like if you're watching the original Frankenstein that was, 1932, like, and now all of a sudden you're watching it on IMAX or a Blu-ray, like they shot that on film. How could they ever fill however big an IMAX screen in because they're ginormous? That's what they're talking about. Like the film was big enough resolution that it's, regardless of being in the 30s, like film was that big it could fit on the IMAX. Maybe not the IMAX, because I don't know the resolution of, but it could fit on a giant fucking movie theater screen is the point I'm getting at. That when it's on your television, HD, 4K, 8K or not, like it's being shrunk down. So if you were to record a record digitally at a studio at 96 kilohertz and so on and so forth, that if you had to downgrade it to fit on a record, it isn't so much downgrading it to be shitty, it's downgrading it to fit it. And in some cases, that can almost be better because then you're kind of compressing the data. Wow. So anyway, do you remember 3-inch CDs? Yeah, they sucked. In most cases, you couldn't even play the damn thing. But that is why, a lot of the like CD players, they had the two rings, the one that was the normal size CD and then the one in the middle. But yeah, 3-inch CD, because then shaped CDs were essentially a 3-inch CD with then like the shape aspects that would have been, right? Like, all right, if you had a normal size CD, but then you had a shaped CD, the playable area of the shaped CD was 3 inches, and then they cut, the rest of it, they cut it out of a 6-inch CD. So it would still always fit in the outside of it. Why did I bring up shaped CDs? Because they sucked. They were hard to play. And you certainly couldn't play it in your car stereo, or at least not the ones that, where it sucks it up, and spits it out ones. It would have to be like the push it down. Franco, you are really late to the party. No, Hellcast, I came, saw, and did. Just like records and bands and stuff, you come and you do the project, you're fun, it's great, you do your thing, and eventually you put out enough records to where like, all right, this band's done. So we put out enough episodes that, all right, this podcast stuff is done. So if you want to listen to Hellcast anymore, listen to all the archives that are available at hellcast.com or hellcastmetalpodcast.bandcamp.com. Because they are on the internet and the other forms, but like, especially those episodes that had more, the early episodes that had music, this stuff's old. So like that came out before the ever-changing like rights aspect of like, when we're playing music on there, a la like old school radio style, those episodes can't exist on something like YouTube. They can't exist on something like Spotify because then they'll hear those songs and be like, you can't play these because whatever band said no, or something worse, like, hey, all that time you spent to upload this on YouTube, well, because of that one song out of a 3-hour episode, that 5-minute song that's owned by such and such, well, such and such, they get to say what happens when somebody uses their property. This is true. most people say, hey, give me a cutback of whatever that, person that posted it is generating, and then we share the revenue. Well, then the idiots, they say, just take it down. So a lot of these idiots that I think they're egos because, dude, it just happened recently. There was if you go on the Reaper Metal channel, I'm totally on sidetracking here, but you brought up Hellcast, so fucking, I digitized my whole tape collection. Daunting task that took me years. And the part that I don't kind of appreciate now, years later, that I posted everything, and I kind of did it for the love of spreading the obscurity of killer ass demos of bands that are, no reissue label is gonna search them out and put it out. And even if they did, in my experience, I ran a label, and I put out. It makes me think of the Polish band Magnus. I had to search the globe to no end to even get in touch with the band to ever humor the idea of reissuing their Unheard of album, that came out in '88 and so on. Not even because it was old. It was just a Polish band and that time period and the Iron Curtain and how just spreading of stuff. Unheard of band, simple as that. You go through those links and you find it, and then fast forward to a day like YouTube where, your passion of just wanting to share that with people because you have a YouTube channel is now hindered by legalities of just stupid people. There's this band, Roadkill, they're called. Have you heard of Roadkill? No, right, exactly. So when Roadkill emails me and hey, you posted our demo, instead of saying thank you, they're like, how much did you make on it? And I don't know, let me look. It had 100 views. I think that would equate to YouTube paying me 30 cents. And I know that's a sticky thing to some people. You would owe them those 30. It's not yours to do. Look, I didn't do it for the fucking money anyway. I posted it, and they stick ads on this shit. So what? Okay, because then otherwise, if there was substantial money to be paid, well then I'm gonna run that by. How long did it take me to digitize this fucking demo that you didn't do yourself? That I posted to an audience that I have that you don't have because you're a band nobody's ever heard of that's 30 years old. I think there's just due to compensate for my time, my efforts for that. And that's not a fucking dollar, okay? So let's say that's $50. Well, that's gonna take years, and your dumbass fucking wrote a copyright claim and now put a strike on my channel and then ultimately removed the demo, and well then there you go. Good luck, buddy. Because now nobody's even going to hear this shit. And that's what I did in the first place. So fuck you, Roadkill. That just happened too, man. It was dude, what the fuck? And it's happened a few times. So anyway, I don't know. I think I got a side rant on that one. But somebody's swearing, by the way. I don't care, but YouTube does, man. So, and it's delicate too, fucking wimp status. Yep, you said ass. Oh, wait, no, you said, okay, so I ain't no poser, I'm the king, he got recognized. By the way, I ain't no poser, I'm the king. He got recognized. I don't get the other, I don't get the end of that. But yeah, the ghost from Poland's fucking badass. YouTube doesn't like fucking and badass, by the way. And I don't even think they would like something like that. I don't even think they like damn. Yeah. So watch your language. We're in a kindergarten class here. But that's where some of the technology shit has led us. And in a way, that's kind of what's fueling this overall rant of buying the same records of 10 different colors. The masses are doing this shit. And they want you to buy the same record over and over, but your boy here Reaps trying to talk some sense into you. Don't, and bands, stop putting out 20 different colors. We know you love different color circles, but at the end of the day, it's a different color circle. It's about the music you created. Don't you want people to listen to that? get busy like doing something else than come up with the same fucking garbage. Hell, says the guy whose last record was 8 years ago. Me. Anyway, back to comments. Cam, medical pathologist, just 650. They don't mind about cussing, just not in the first 10 minutes. From what I've heard from people who have YouTube channels. Yeah, Cam. No, it's the comments though. Like when somebody writes it, like it's literally happening right now. Like it happened like 20 times over. I only click. I every time I go live and like we're 76 minutes in. Like if somebody says like this, like literally, damn. Like it won't even show the comment here in the live stream. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, like what you're talking about then is on my end. That if I came in within the first 10 seconds and like fuck this, like I might want to reserve my fucks till maybe a minute or so. Which I've always done. I played that game, Hell, like using Hellcast as an example. That was why there was a segment on the show called 9 seconds, like 6, clips of music, 9 seconds long. Because if you went 1 second over, then YouTube the band that you played for 10 seconds owns the rights to this whole 3-hour episode. It happened to me so many fucking times, and it's just like, fuck you, dude. No one, again, it's not entirely about the cash, but in this regards, like I'm trying to do something, so like you kind of need the backing, right? Because then you got to go to your audience and ask them for donations and blah blah blahs. So like, why am I posting this shit on YouTube then to let these assholes sell you ads, and then it gives it to the guy that owned 10 seconds as opposed to my fucking 3 hours of effort? Like fuck that. So yeah, somebody else just pissed them off, by the way, because it'll flag it and it'll be like, this message is held for review. So. I ain't no poser. Yep. What about pussy? Nope. It didn't like that either. So, what about cats? Next time, you got to speak in code. Yeah, man, it's cool. But it's not at the same time. Like it's a giant kindergarten class in a way. I mean, I get it. It has to be to some degree. But it got wimped out. We got to blame the idiots, like just the people that abused it. It's shit. It's the story of my life, honestly, like liking extreme stuff, I guess. Cause like, I just remember like, I grew up, late, like 90s. I'm 38. So I was born October 28th, 1986. And so I went through like high school and shit, late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember like when that Columbine bullshit happened and those morons, are, wimps, and they're shooting people up rather than, doing, go to the therapy or something else to help themselves. Like, I don't know. I don't get that. I'm disgruntled that I got bullied and I'm going to go kill everybody else and then myself at the end. Because nonetheless, when those assholes did all that and then they were wearing Marilyn Manson shirts and shit, it fucked it up like at school. Like literally then, like the next day, it's like, I'm all of a sudden going to the principal's office for wearing like a black T-shirt that had, nothing to the regards. And it's just like, I learned early on, I guess I'm saying that it only takes one asshole to ruin it for everybody else. So that's what happened to YouTube too. So think all the assholes that would rather, they'll take everybody else down with them, and then ruin YouTube for the worst of it and all that good shit. So yeah. Back to the comments though. Yeah, I'm not. The Cam said I like the first 2 Manson albums. I wasn't really saying anything positive or negative about it. I was just saying, those losers. They were, it was at the time they were like, dude, it's so fucking stupid. Everybody was looking for an alibi. Like, well, how could they do it? Oh, it must be the music they're listening to. It's like, it had nothing else, of course, nothing. Like. So it's more of a remark like that. The labels honestly push the multicolored stuff, trying to maximize profits. I mean, that's what I'm suggesting, I mean, maybe not, and especially if there's a customer base that's demanding it, then, it's not entirely somebody's fault then. And that's kind of where I say, like, if I'm not trash talking it, to some degrees I am, but like if I'm not overall trying to just bash that or anybody that's, into that, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it or something, but I am trying to at least plant a thought that from a creator's standpoint, myself, I don't entirely think it's just. And like, yeah, I would rather than there be 10 fans than one guy that bought 10 records of the same thing. So that, yeah, you know, if people are at least, as long as people are essentially getting what they want, then there's really no problem. And I guess in a way, yeah, if the guy that's buying 10 copies, like he got it. So there's, you know, I'm the asshole, I guess. But, you know, if you're the creative aspect, then I guess you get a say to, you know, to call whether or not you want all these different variants then for whatever your reasons may be. And my reasons would be everything I've said for about 81 minutes. So, all right, back to some comments. If the world is filled with mindless consumer collectors, there will always be an industry to feed the need. Send more brains. Well, what a perfect name to what a perfect screen name to such remark. Because yeah, I guess to reiterate, you know, being the guy that brought this up, that, you know, why are you bringing this up? And you know, I'm planting the seed of thought. So more brains is a good idea, I would say, in that regard too. More brains to think about it. You make your own decisions, is what I'm getting at. Hey, Jacob, good to see you. I remember getting caught smoking on my high school grounds, and the cop was not impressed with my attire and ready to lock me up in the county jail. That seems extreme. Evan Williams, I don't buy multiple copies. That money is better spent on a different record I don't already have in my collection. And that's kind of the point I'm getting at, right? And I would think that collectors and the creators of the music in the first place would kind of like both have that similar mindset, where then it would be mostly like the label and something, you know, that's like thinking this is a brilliant idea. I mean, because if you're a fucking shyster, and we definitely live in a culture of that now, you know, yeah, just money, 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 money. And we all need money, right? It's a system that was well established before we all came here and lived our lives. So I think in a lot of ways most people are just dealing with it. So if you want to be a shyster, you kind of can, and it's a little bit more enabled now, and you can really play upon that. And that is maybe another reason why I'm bringing it up. Like, I don't like when something is near and dear, you know. It's cool that, yeah, like, you know, obviously myself is going to remain the person I could only speak for, like, with my, if I could even really call it a music, like, in my mind, when you say something's a career, that means like it's what you primarily live off of. So if I were to say a music career, I would at least have to round you so you have the right idea of like what mine looks like. Cause like I don't live off of any one band that I've done. I have a pretty, you know, luck, and it's more so just because it was fun and it was cool, and I'm glad I did it, you know, and I just love making and recording music. So I got a pretty cool and extensive catalog of stuff that, yeah, at this point, now that there's a digital market, like I could reap the benefits of, and, you know, get my pennies to dollars as I do of shit that's, you know, 20 plus years old, that there was no digital when it even came out. So that's pretty cool. But like it turns into a reinvestment. And so, but before any of that, like none of those, vast catalog or not, like none of them is enough to be like my overall career, my sole source of income. Combined though, where it's like, you know, I own licenses to the bands that I've worked with for Reaper Metal releases, you know, YouTube stuff, Hellcast videos, all the shit I've done through the years, YouTube videos, you get tips on it or whatever the hell, like, then there's enough accumulative things, guitar, like, so like everything I do for an income is somehow grounded in music. So my music career is music career, but it isn't that I'm just a musician and that's it. I got to touch other sides of the music industry for that. So that's kind of what I've always pictured as a music career, for somebody to be like, you know, I'm a musician and that's my career. I'm not just a musician, that's my career. Metal Neanderthal, you got your message has been retracted. It was so offensive that I can't even like hold it for review. It's been retracted. Cancel culture at its best. You can't even be heard. If I don't own it on vinyl, I don't own it. Hey, that's one way to look at it, Oak's Arm. Granted, I mean, there's some cool shit though that like, back to that, I ragged on them because they gave me a strike on my YouTube channel. So that band Roadkill, like their demo was only on cassette. It was on YouTube. It could have been founded out. And that's why I use Magnus as an example and this Roadkill scenario. This Roadkill band just happened. I, out of love, had the demo, digitized it, along with everything else in my collection. It took me years to do it. I did it too, where like, I didn't just digitize the cassette. Like I made sure the volume was like, I used my knowledge to then make sure that it was the best, digital representation. And, I would just think that would kind of come with a thank you and an understanding like nobody's heard of your band. And like, even if this guy made $5, like, it took him a few hours and years to do all this shit. So just we'll hit him up when he made 50. That like now nobody can discover this cool band because that's why I brought up Magnus then. Like when I put out that Magnus release is one of my original releases, it was so painstaking. I had to find like this dude in Germany that hardly spoke English, but then when he spoke enough English to tell me, yes, I know who Magnus is and I know who they are. They speak Polish and I don't even hardly speak English. You need to find a guy that speaks Polish to even talk to them to get the deal. Luckily, I knew a guy that spoke Polish, and like that's how it all went down after it took about a year to even get in touch with the band in the first place. And then I put it out on CD, and that's all fine and well. And when I put it out on CD, all of a sudden that Swedish label, Blood Harvest, put it out on vinyl. And then another label put out Magnus's other album on CD. Point being, and not that I'm disgruntled about it, I'm actually quite happy about it, and that's entirely what I'm saying, is like my effort like became a domino effect then that like, it resurged. People found like, holy shit, this band's fucking cool. I have a label, I want to put it on vinyl. And then it did, and it was a domino effect, and that's great. And I'm happy to, I mean, it's fucking obvious. Like it was through my effort that kind of pushed it to that regard. Like I would have hoped the same for Roadkill, but since they're gonna be assholes about it and they had to pull it off, and now I get a strike on my YouTube channel, well now nobody can jam it. So, and that's happened time and time again. Like I've even simply touted my own shit on YouTube videos and stuff. Brought up a Crucify Mortals like live recording, and then somebody just hits me up a week later. Hey, I own a label. I want to put it out. So like, there's power in this technology crap to further the music that we love to then reach the masses decades beyond when it ever came out. And like, and how's that not a good thing? But you just get these dummies, man. Like they think that like it's good for them to like. I mean, yeah, you should be in control of your intellectual property rights. But there is a point in which that control could be ill-advised or not advised at all, that when you do something stupid like have it pulled off of YouTube because somebody made $1 on it, literally $1, come on. That's ill-advised and stupid. And it wasn't the first time. Anyway, Anthony Dillon's old, that's a big name. Anthony Neal, we'll just call you. I own 2 copies of Dismembers Like an Ever-Flowing Stream on vinyl. One is blue marbled colored. The other is black double album 45 speed. One of the best death metal albums, and not just death metal. Or one of the best albums, not just death metal. I mean, hey, if you're happy about that, that's fine and well. Although, I'm not saying that Like an Ever-Flowing Stream's like that, but like that is, I don't know when you joined the stream, Anthony, to hear like that whole resolution and kind of crap. But like when like, yeah, like a lot of these bands are like then doing like, and then it was remastered at 45 RPM, so the grooves are wider apart and therefore it's a, more sonic quality. I would ask them, where did the source come from? Because there are vinyl manufacturers. They will not accept any other source from you, the client, than a CD. Therefore, 45 RPM matters none, because the record will not improve in quality when you gave a master of a CD. You would have to give them a digital file. However, you could put it as a data CD, but it's still back to that file. Once it's a playable CD, which again, those manufacturers demand, now it's at CD quality, and that's far lower than the efforts of a 45 RPM double LP that would be specifically done so that the grooves are further apart, therefore, like, it has more sonic data, because it's analog, like that fucking needle, man, like it rides a track that has two signals, you know, and then there's physics involved with that. Like, there's a lot going on for that vinyl to be absolute quality, a bit of a know-how. So I wonder sometimes that they really do that, because I've got a lot of experience in vinyl reissues, and some of these folks aren't exactly, they don't even know. They don't even know the very people pressing it. Because I've always been the dork on the other side. Like, the guy get hired to then, like, hey, we're doing this. We don't know how to do it. The band doesn't have it. Makes me think of Witch Cross. I remember that. They so didn't have the Witch Cross, a Danish heavy metal band from the 80s. They so didn't have their own music to be replicated 30 years later that I had to buy an original LP off of eBay and digitize it myself. And then there was like nobody knocking on my door, like wanting to hear a test pressing, wanting to make sure that I did a good job, wanting to even hear my work. Just somehow just trusted. So whatever. They had the right guy. Holy freak, would they take this word off? Nope, you're good. I'm freak. I retracted it. I posted it too soon before I could oh, okay. Cam, you violated it. You were not reacted. You were held. What did you do? What did you do? I've been on time. What? I've been on time out on YouTube for 24 hours a bunch of times. Who gives a FVCK? So you said fuck with a V, and they were on to you. Dude, this shit's getting smart. It knows even your intentions now. Come on. Send more brains. The other day, I was looking at Nunslaughter on Metal Archives and noticed you played on the Hex album. Never knew you were a Nunslaughter. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm on a lot of records. Evan Williams, Scarlet Slaughter is such an awesome album. That's the Magnus album he's referring to that I put out. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. That was such a cool release. Franco Marino. I saw Nunslaughter in Chicago several times, and I had a few pics of Reaper playing guitar and his long hair. Yeah, well, I mean, fuck, the long hair was longer lived. Like, this is more recent. I just I hacked it off, but I hacked off the hair about 10 years ago too. So it's not like the first time. But yeah. I remember playing that gig in Chicago. Cafe Lura, I think. You know what? I think there was 2 shows I played with the band in Chicago. I don't remember the name of the other place, though. I know Cafe Lura. Is that place still around, by the way? Speaking of Polish, I thought those were like, you know, because I always thought, like, I know, like, Chicago, like Cleveland, you know, is, as far as America, like, you know, ethnicities are concerned, or like the, you know, the Midwest kind of has a lot of like a Polish and Slavic population. So I don't know. It's just somehow that's kind of how I remember that Cafe Lure place. Anthony Neal, my screen name includes my late son's name / tag name. Oh, well, I'm sorry to make a joke of it then, but it was just a long name was really what the joke was. So no need to be sorry. I'm the asshole. Oh, cool. Yeah. I Ain't No Poser says he has the box set of the Witch Cross I'm talking about. And yeah, I just kind of remember being amazed, and I get it, but like I was just kind of surprised that like a lot of that, like those pictures and liner note, like the band themselves, like seemingly had like nothing. That it was like uber fans, and then like the efforts of like, you know, myself or, you know, other people at Hell's Headbangers, like reaching out to then like Laurent. If you're familiar with Snake Pit Magazine, or Laurent from France, he always comes to mind because I think I'm done. But anytime I did like a Magnus type of like, or Witchcross type of project that was like old school, you really had to dig deep, like Laurent was the guy. Like always go to him, like if you needed, you know, you needed some shit for the layout. So old flyers, not like just, he's always, if he didn't have them, he knew somebody that did. And man, that guy, like, because then there was like even like just metal archives, like, is this fact or fiction, you know, stuff that's just like, if it's true, then like we don't have the complete discography for this bonus track aspect of this release. And then it's just like, well, I know who could confirm or deny it. And then sure enough, confirms, yes, it is true. And I have it. And it's just like, how, like, dude, you're the holy grail, man. Like, cause you know, it's like a network of like pretty solid, awesome collectors, or at least I once had, that like I would reach out to, and like some, like, yeah, like I just remember certain projects that it's just like, dude, I went through the network, and like we're just gonna like it just doesn't exist. We're gonna have to lick the envelope. And then it's just like, you know what though? I forgot to ask Laurent. All right, before we lick the envelope, let's go ask him. And then sure enough, no, it exists. And it's just like, dude, like out of 30 freaking like, you know, solid, man, I don't know if it was that many, but out of like a lot of solid names, like just always, yeah. uh, Cafe Lura and Empty Bottle were Franco. Those were the places that Nunslaughter played that I was at. Because Cafe Lura, yes. Because then the other place that I forgot the name of, is that Empty Bottle then? Is that what you're saying? I guess is what I'm asking. I ain't no poser. So yeah, Austin. So I met you in Austin. Because that was a long time ago. So that's cool though. That you know, you know what year was Austin? Do you remember? I don't remember. Let's say it was like around 2008. Like that's pretty cool. Then like, you know, 17 years later, that like we're here on YouTube. You know, still connected. Similar Brain says Don wouldn't let you on stage if with the short hair you have now, would he? I mean, I've been so much out of the band that I don't even know if that would even be of question to even give me a phone call to ever want me to do something, because it wouldn't even matter. Like my answer would just be no. We wouldn't even get to the hair. Like it would just be, Craig, do you want to play? No. But he's cut his hair many times, so he'd be a fucking hypocrite if that were the real reason. Okay, so Cafe Lura is gone. I might be really behind in comments, so sorry if I'm like 10 minutes behind. I'm going to talk to you. You're talking about Incubus from Australia. I was talking about the English Incubus. Well, the many Incubuses, right? Very happy to hear the praise of the Devastation box set. And we were talking about Chicago a second ago. So the Texas Devastation, I guess the more widely known one that, you know, was on, you know, Century Media and stuff, bigger labels than the Chicago Devastation. Very cool to hear that, man. I definitely doing the audio stuff that I've done, a lot of it is very uncredited, and even when it is, which the Devastation box set was, nobody has any idea of like the extreme lengths of like, and it's not even like tooting my own horn, but like I kind of want to, because it's like, just if you got it, like you would be excited as I am for what I accomplished. Not that I'm cool that I did and I'm great, but like just that, like, holy shit, I did it. Like I really fixed it. Because one of those demos, like it literally had like one side just drop out for like 10 minutes. And like every copy was like that. and I was able to restore it. And, you know, when you're really working at this stuff, editing and fixing, you kind of know, like when you're playing back and you want to, you know, make sure it's seamless, you're kind of biased because you know when to expect it. So even though it's like, yeah, it sounds seamless, it's almost a mind fuck of like, but is it? Like, because I don't know, like maybe like I know when it's supposed to occur. So I just remember like getting the test pressings of the Devastation where it had been months then that I heard it from mastering it and stuff, that I just got to listen to the record like as a fan, forgetting where the edits and the dropout particularly occurred, and just like when the record was over, like holy shit, like I do remember there was a zillion edits in that. So just, you know, just really happy for the overall of just being a fan, and you know, like that we've got, like we as a collective can now all enjoy it that way. And you know, whatever, credit doesn't need to be or whatever, but like, yeah, lots and lots of strenuous effort using the noggin of like, you know, all the, you know, just the stuff that I know how to do. And yeah, it's just if nothing else, for no credit, like it's good to apply that for, you know, a labor of love as that was. Oh, Fraser, did you change your Scream name? Because I know who, like I know if you're the Fraser I'm thinking of from Texas, then I know who you are. So yeah, you just changed your name, screen name. I don't know the screen names. That's all. Don has some bald dude in Nunslaughter now. When I got in a fight in San Francisco with a bouncer, the bald dude tried to get the bouncers back, but it was already over with. So yeah, I don't like him. I don't know who the bald dude would be. Noah, I think. I mean, I don't really have anything to say about anybody bad or something. But if you have a bad experience, sorry to hear that. I honestly don't like. I was like, honestly, I was never a Nunslaughter fan, even when I was in the band. Like, I liked the experience. I liked making music. You know, whoever brought up like I didn't know you were on the Hex album. Like, yeah, like I wrote songs on that. Played both. Like, even though there's a picture of a 4-piece band, we're actually a 3-piece recorded band. Like, there's like a small little note, like everything's, you know, Reaper's all the strings kind of thing. But yeah, like, I don't know. And then I didn't even, like, I was really disappointed with the production of that album. I thought, well, I guess speaking of Bald Dude and Noah, like Noah remixed the Hex album, and then there's a reissue with that mix, and he did a really good job. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like, it was just, yeah, and I don't know how it sounds from your end to hear a guy admit that like you're in a band that you didn't even like, but it's just kind of where my attitude is though with this conversation too. That like, I think there's a difference, like that, you know, as a music fan, for me too, like I collect, yes, but I kind of like, I just have a different experience. Like, it, in a way, like I have different ways that I appreciate the music I like. Like the stuff I create, like I do it to hear the idea come together. You know, I'm not that guy that I'll listen to it when it's done, and even years later. But before it potentially sounds like, yeah, what a shithead to be like create and be in a band that he doesn't like, and then like, you know, 'cause, you know, I don't know where I don't know what I mean by the shithead remark, but you know, perhaps you do. Like, I think it makes sense. I don't know if I need to elaborate on that, but what I do need to elaborate on is like, yeah, like it's not so much like, like I'm like living under this false, pretense of like this band that I have nothing to do. Like I didn't hate it or something. It was just like I didn't like, like wasn't like this uber fan of like what we're doing kind of thing. Like I did it more so like I like making music. I like creating music, and like that experience is something else that if I listen to music, I also just like to play it sometimes. Like I don't need to like listen to it. Like, when there's moments that I'll go on a long car ride and it'll just be nothing but silence, like the music in that sense that I like to experience perhaps, or is in my head. Like I'd rather like sit there and think about an idea of something that I'm working on or whatever and figure it out in that way. Like I like the overall experience of it rather than always like, putting the needle to the vinyl kind of thing. And that's kind of what I mean by that. I love the vegan metalhead. I love heavy metal. I have an aborted shirt coming. Cool. Tommy from Redefining that I always bring up, the producer, he was once a part of Aborted, so I don't know if that would ever be, if that would be the same Aborted. I always, every time like Aborted gets brought up, I just think of like the brutal death metal days that I always kind of attribute to them, because then anytime I hear like their later stuff, I'm like, this isn't the like, the original brutal death metal scene that I kind of thought that they were, because I don't really like that kind of stuff. Middle Neanderthal. Would I still be up to working on more projects? I'm a few comments and minutes behind. What projects is that? Like the Devastation projects? Kevin, hey man, good to see you. Hope all is well. I back at you, man. Long time no see. Cool to at least see you here in internet version, as it's been a while in the flesh. Cam aborted his slam. Oh, is it? But then again, like too, a lot of that like unique leader, brutal death metal, like, because at this point too, like I don't know, like is like brutal death metal could be like a resurgent scene now, like enough time has passed. So I'm talking about like the original day, that, well, I mean, you're saying brah, so it sounds like you're a fan of Justin's. So like the shit that Justin loves, that he like me and Justin shared a room when we were growing up during those days. Like I absolutely hated it when it was Justin's time to play the tunes, which was most of the time. If you know Justin, like, does that come as a surprise that he would like overtake the tunes? I mean, there was a balance, but it was a bit of an overtake. But oh, dude, like, yeah, when it was his tune, it was like, fuck. And like, needless to say, I when I found out I could get a job at 14 at McDonald's, I was counting down the days, because like this is how young I was. Like we used sharing a room with it, and I was like, because then at least after school, like I could be at work and not have to fucking hear Waco Jesus or whatever the hell. Dude, like I don't know. If you love that stuff, more power to you. I'm not ragging on it, but me personally, I absolutely like hate it. Like I would rather listen to nothing. Cool. Glad we got that out of the way, Fraser. United Universe. Fraser is the king of heavy metal, the singer of Dork Angel, and a Rat fan to boot. There you go. If you needed a hype sticker for those bands, there you go, Fraser. Put that on there. Going through. Looks like some chatter between folks. I don't know who Craig Comos is. Oh, I see. You're talking to the person named Comos. Sorry. That was the first person's last name. Hey Sam, did you get the well, okay, this is I ain't no poser is addressing, hey Sam, did you get the reissue of the first album, the bonus tracks? So whoever Sam is and what album that we're referring to, did you? ASCII Reaper, have you been at the GBK show in Detroit? No, absolutely not. I would never go to a GBK show. I don't like their music, nor do I like anything that they're doing beyond their music. I thought the Swazi tread boots were fucking ridiculous. It was interesting to see High Roller basically just repress your repress of the first Destructor album. Yeah, that's literally what happened. But that's cool. It's very much to what I was saying with the Magnus stuff, you know. Like, if my effort is going to somehow, like, make a chain link of, like, reaction of, like, where the metal world can, like, continue. But that in particular, yeah, like, I was already done working on the release and with the band at that point, and they did ask, like, you know, can they, and you know, as long as you ask, because that was another release, man. Like, then there was like legalities, like with like the Cleveland, like with the original label that put it out, like that, and that was why that release was so untouched for so many times. Like a Destructor we're talking about here, Maximum Destruction, the Cleveland band. That album was like so untouched in a world of like reissues for a long time, because then like there was essentially the label that put it out, a Cleveland label, Auburn Records. The owner was always like just unresponsive. And when I got involved, because a lot of people like try to like would get involved with Destructor. I mean, this is the hearsay part that was told to me, so I'm not like, you know, come up with some story to eventually look like the saint at the other side that got it done. Because at one point too, like Hell's Headbangers were supposed to put it out before anything, but then Dave Overkill got more and more involved with me, and we were doing then the Heavy Metal Relics stuff, which was like the lead up to then working further. And at that point where it was like, you know, Dave, like, I'm trying to do a little bit more Reaper Metal wise, and your face is on the channel, like, I don't think it would make sense that like if Hell's put it out, because then like all the stuff that's involved between like, you know, the pictures, the audio master, like they're ultimately going to have me do that. So I feel like that's going to be, you know, a huge, and it was, dude, it was 20 plus hours. Like the master aspect of it was probably like 20 hours of work. You know, a lot of labor of love that it's like, it's coming from my resources that like, you know, I've already got their good graces, for it to be a Reaper Metal release. And so when, yeah, the High Roller thing came around, he at least kind of respected that and like reached out and it's like, you know, can we use it? Like it was good. And it's like, yeah, you know, I'm not like, it is your music at the end of the day, regardless of what I did to then get it to that. So at least my labor of love, you know, like my release sold out. So like I was compensated for those 20 hours and blah, blah, blah. You know, it wasn't like I just got milked of like labor and, you know, utilizing for that. But then at least too, yeah, there was like, you know, a respect to then bring it up and say, hey, but that's also too, like I've gone through, I've done, you know, a lot of bands I've worked with got picked, like, you know, Hell Ripper got picked up by Peaceful, and like similarly so, like Peaceful reissued Black Arts and Alchemy, the release that I did with Hell Ripper, and James from Hell Ripper, like, yeah, one day came knocking, he's like, hey, Peaceful is reissuing it, like, you know, we need to pay you a license then to use your layout and stuff like that. So like, you know, again, it's not about the dollar, but it is like, well, you're not gonna like, that was my design, like that was my this, like, yeah, if other people are gonna go on, they're gonna use it. Like I don't want to be like stepped upon and disrespected. So, you know, those band they a lot of, yeah, everybody I've worked with, they've been respectful. So I have zero problem to then like, yeah, make sure that like, especially, you know, not everybody has that ability to, yeah, take a record and be able to transfer it digitally, but then clean up the pops and all this crap. Like, you know, like like if you're going to use a record as a source for you're going in, you want to clean the record so you don't have any like, you know, dust pops and shit. But even when that just pretty much is just going to inherently happen because of a record, you know, the stylus is traveling a physical surface. So it's bound to hit some sort of dust particle along the way to put noise. If not, then you hear the surface noise. Like, you know, it's a fine-tooth comb of a process, a very tedious one of an audio restoration project. I love doing that shit though, and I love seeing the results. So yeah, that was kind of what the 20 hours involved. So as long as there's respect on the other end, like I'm kind of flattered and happy to see then it keep going, because that was the whole point. Like I wanted to make it available. I love the record. I put it out. My copies are gone, and we're no longer working together. And yeah, if somebody else wants to take it on and keep that going, like I want to see you continue and do your thing. And yeah, if we need more, like just don't put it on a zillion different colors, that kind of thing. Send more brains out of curiosity. With you hating brutal death metal, what type of music is more in your realm? Your brothers all seem to be pretty eye to eye. You must be the black goat of the family. You were very late to knowing, like, yeah, the historical side of all that shit, I guess. But your nail hit it right on the head of like asking the right appropriate questions. That yeah, like if you differentiate the Horrible family, like. I mean, those three guys don't even really like the same stuff in amongst themselves. The Helpside Bangers guys, Eric, Chase, and Justin. But no, and I never did. So like like as kids and all the, I don't really pay attention to Justin's channel, but he definitely I know loves to be nostalgic and tell a lot of stories. So he probably told a lot of like stories of like going to concert with those guys back in the day. And if you ever heard any of those stories, like you never hear my name mentioned. So in a lot of ways too, yeah, I would almost like not exist. But yeah, we just had different things and different objectives, and that's their thing. But to answer your question, I mean, I like it all. Like, I mean, I guess to a degree, there might be a brutal death metal band that you could label as such that I do like. One's not popping up off the top of my head, but like, I think largely I'm less into death metal and black metal when it comes to that, those styles. So maybe I'm more of a thrash fan, and heavy metal fan. I like some power metal too, like, and not so much like what I call Reach for the Stars power metal. More so like when it was like that weird crossroads of like, is it speed metal? Is it heavy metal? Like, 80s style when like things got, more double kick and stuff. So like, it makes me think of like early Blind Guardian, although early Blind Guardian, later operatic Blind Guardian, as well. So like mid-range Blind Guardian, so like Mirror Mirror, Iced Earth before, you couldn't like them because of, the Capitol crap with John Schaefer. So I do like everything, like Iced Earth from record 1 to Horror Show when Tim Ripper Owens joined the band, which is kind of funny because he pretty much lives down the street since he's from Akron. Fun fact, I guess, just being a fan of Iced Earth. I didn't like those records. So granted, like this is kind of going back to like fundamental when you grow up. Because then the other answer to that question, even as I like say those bands and stuff, like I do own those records. I still listen to them. I do like them. But like I'm not like a raging fan either. And actually, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like when it comes to like me being a music fan ever, really, but definitely now, I still buy records and shit. I'm mostly excited about like horror soundtracks because when it comes to like styles and stuff too, like I'm just not like this, like like this torch bearing metal forever. Like I am and have been. Call it like getting to be older or whatever. I don't think it's any of that. It's just more so like to specifically because I've always really still been the same person. Like I like creepy sounding shit. So like even in the metal bands that I do like some shit, like even if it's like your Justins of the world that are like the guy hates everything, it's like no, I just like I challenge certain things a little bit more. Like I like productions, Persecution Mania is a lot of people's favorite Sodoms, not mine. I don't. Let me know if I'm still here. I had to plug my phone real quick, and I still got to dick around, dude. Am I still here? Because I think I'm getting a charge out of it. But yeah, so I don't know. I like creepy shit. So whatever the hell, like if it's a horror movie soundtrack, if it's a death metal album, if it's a black metal album, if it's a thrash album, if it's a heavy metal album, like if it sounds, if it has like eerie qualities and it's darker, that's kind of the attributes I kind of like. Like, because I attribute to like, anything that's like rock based, death metal, black metals, like all these metal derivatives, like they're rock based, right? They have distorted guitars, power chords, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of that stuff, even when like it's the most evil thing, like some of it to me just sounds rocking with a guy that, with like satanic lyrics or something. Like that doesn't strike me as dark and stuff. So that's kind of like in a lot of ways, like, yeah, one of the gripes to maybe if it's not a production or something, like, again, it's not like turn this off. It's fucking awful, as is a lot of brutal death metal or definitely like primitive black metal. It's just more so that for me, like it's just something's not doing it to an overall. But that would be like I'm just not gonna buy it, I'm not gonna listen to it over and over and over and over again, kind of thing. It's not that I don't not like it though, because then again, like I was saying, and to the beginning of this rant, like me as like a music fan, like sometimes my music experience is not listening to somebody else's record. Like I like to play guitar. And that's good enough for me sometimes, Like maybe I could just play the song that I like, learn it. Like that would be as good enough of like, reliving some of those, especially if it's something that you've known for years. Like, what am I going to do? Listen, like, because isn't like, and especially to the 10 copies of the 20 different colors record of the thing that like you buy over and over again. Like, I get it, right? Okay, I get it. I'm the guy like saying it, but I also get it, okay? But like, one thing I'm proposing is like, do people not have also the reality of like, that you're like me too, that like, doesn't the joke, like if jokes get old to where like a comedy movie or a comedian telling a funny joke is no longer funny because you anticipate it, like, doesn't the record get old sometimes too? Like, think about it. Like, let's use Sabbath as an example. Do you really want to hear the song Paranoid or War Pigs again? Like, so now I don't need to own Paranoid because half the record I don't want to enjoy. Do those songs suck? No, they're old. They've been so fucking overplayed that like, in that case, it's the radio's fault and society's fault and culture's fault. We can do that to ourselves, right? If we kept playing the same record over and over because it was stuck in the tape player and you couldn't get it out, and you were driving 8 hours every day, and you're just, you'd get sick of that record. And so I challenge the thought that as we're buying 10 copies of the same thing, like, I get it, I love your spirit, but like, if you were listening to that 10 times over in the same day because you had to play all colors because you felt weird for buying 10 copies of the same record and your wife was bitching at you for so then what you did to justify yourself was listen to all 10 copies. By the end of it, you would probably be exhausted of that favorite record that you have 10 copies of. So like that, like, especially 40 years later when that some of these records are like, you really like for all eternity, that you just have the same energy about it. Like the answer might be yes. And I get it. But like, sometimes I don't feel like I do that. Like, yeah, I'll learn Angel of Death then rather than listen to it for the zillionth time because it'd just be fun to play it on guitar to the record today, I guess, is what I'm saying. Not that I've learned Angel of Death and done that with it. The Syst album should have to go more attention. I mean, it did pretty well though when it came out, and the producer Tommy from Redefining is definitely still kind of pushing it. It seems like he brings it up when he can, much like I bring up Magnus. That Baphometic. How would you say it? Fanny Packer. Did you say you put out some Magnus from Poland? If so, any stories working with them? Oh, you missed some of the stories. Really through the years, because I've told those stories really when they were happening on like early Hellcast episodes. Now I know it's not your responsibility to be aware of all that and then fish it out through there, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you what episode that was. Where's Layla Level when you need him? Because he would probably know what episode that was. But I did, yes, I told definitely some Magnus stories. Nothing really like bad. It was more so kind of like the one that I was telling earlier. Although I'm slightly jaded because when I went through all that effort of like, I don't know where you were in this conversation. So I said some of this earlier. So for anybody that's been here for this whole stream, they've already heard this story that I told about 25 minutes ago. So I'm going to try to tell a new one. That eventually, like, yeah, like other people picked up their record, blah, blah, blah. But in line of like picking up that record too, like when I got a hold to do the one, it was like, all right, we got to like,
I gotta lay it all out now because like how am I gonna keep a Polish translator happening for one? Because I had to find a Polish translator. Two, even with the Polish translator, how receptive are they going to be to emails? Because that's even of a question. You know, especially I would assume like a place like Poland. At least we're talking about like 2005. I was in Poland. I just did the last live stream was about that trip in Poland. What year was it? 2007? Let's say it was 2007. Like or 2000 2000 something. That like years into it that like cruising through the country of Poland like there's a lot of back road like and like somebody said like they don't like it's not like America like they didn't have like you know highway systems and stuff. So like that's kind of the email remark then like you know you're getting into territories that like certain things you take for granted in communication status is at least for what we're talking about here you know may not be because if nothing else if you need a translator like let's lay it all out. Point being they had 3 albums and that was what I was laying all out like I want to start with Scarlet Slaughterer because then when they even replied they're like hey do our second album first and it's like well if I'm on for all 3 I want to start in order. Because then we started, they said yes, we started in order. And then when it came to the second album, then they wanted to renegotiate. And somehow it's like, well, we'll give you the second album plus, and I was, because that's what it was. The second album plus the second demo to then be as bonus tracks. And it's like, all right, well, we'll give you the second album plus 3 songs from that demo for $5,000. And it was like, absolutely not. $5,000 is too much, and I want the whole demo. Okay, for the whole demo and the album, it'll be $10,000 total. And it's just like, wait. So the album plus 3 songs of a, I think, 8-song demo, 5 songs of the demo are all worth $1,000? More than the album plus 3 songs? Like, I don't get it. Polish stereotype kind of kicking in there. So that's my funny story. Hell Ripper rules. Thank you. Yes, they do. Who writes the product descriptions on HHB? Not my job. Don't work there. Haven't for 5 years, and I didn't even know then, quite frankly. So I'm not sure. Messages are retracted. Oh, so this is you guys writing them in. Fraser, what are you doing, man? You found that you said something that YouTube wouldn't like, and then you retract it. Jacob, do you like the Day of the Dead soundtrack? Yes, I do. I own it. However, that one doesn't put me in the creepy mood because it's got like that tropical sense. So I have to rely on being a fan of the movie and its like horror aspects to then kind of more so appreciate the soundtrack doesn't mesh with the creepy that I like out of a. I mean, do I need to really reiterate that, like, if you like a horror movie soundtrack, maybe you like, you know, it's going to kind of sound eerie. Day of the Dead, not so much in that regard, if you're familiar with the movie. So, in a way, that soundtrack I like, but it has a different musical tone. So, I have to more so rely on liking the movie to then kind of like the soundtrack, if that makes any sense. Stay rotting in the free world. Well, I think we all are rotting. If the maiden tune is true, you know, as soon as you're born, you're dying. So I guess as soon as we're born, we're also rotting to a degree. Goblin is the king for horror soundtracks, in my opinion. Do you think so? Yeah, they got some really cool stuff. And I forgot his name particularly, Mauricio, however you would say the Italian name of that. Maybe that's not even his name at all. The keyboard player, though, from Goblin, he did like a solo tour where it was just him playing synth stuff. And then he came to Cleveland. He went to, there's a college in Cleveland, Case Western. And then they have a theater for, I guess they're like, they're I don't know. I assume, I didn't go to college, nor did I go to there. I assume they obviously have like a film department though at the college, because then they have like a really nice theater, like really nice as in like when you go there you can tell like, dude, even like AMC's and your major movie theater change, like they don't give a fuck about like doing a good job of like making a good soundproof environment for there, because like it sounds amazing in there. Because then it's really cool. Cinematheque it's called. They'll do like around Halloween, at least this is where I'm referring to when I saw him. He came to the Cinematheque, which would then otherwise show like The Fog or some, classic horror stuff. So that was always fun. I remember seeing the movie Near Dark with Bill Paxton. One of the best like vampire genre movies, in my opinion. And then just kind of a rare gem. So when they showed that, like, fuck yeah, we got to go to see Near Dark. But then, what's his name from Goblin was there. He played his own written music to then maybe the classic, the old as fuck though, silent movie Dante's Inferno, which I guess would also, I know Dante's Inferno, Dante, he was Italian, but I thought the film itself, it is because it's like one of the oldest films too. I thought that was one of Dante's Inferno. So I thought it had that going for it too. I don't know. Somehow like Italy's like really shining in that regard. So I was just about to say, like, I thought beyond that it was also like an Italian film. So I don't know. So I guess to the Goblin remark, I really appreciate stuff like that. But as far as like being the Kings, from the aspect of like creepy, not in my opinion. Because not always, but he definitely did a great job. John Carpenter clearly with like Halloween, but one of my favorite soundtracks actually of John Carpenter's and just films is The Fog. Just nailed like such a man. Like I just remember being a kid too. Like man, what a perfect concept of like there's something coming out of the fog. Like I don't know. I couldn't wait to see that movie. Because that's a great creepy sounding theme. But actually, even like, oh no, okay, well, obviously, yes, John Carpenter. But as far as like Kings, Bernard Herrmann, the guy that did Psycho, because Psycho is obviously up there with like establishing one of the cool, like greatest creepy themes of all time. But also, like Bernard Herrmann, like did more than just Psycho. And when he did, I'm thinking about It's Alive, Part 2. I don't know if he did It's Alive number 1. Love that soundtrack too. Like I like horror movie soundtracks in some regards, only and not even the movie. It's been a while since I've seen It's Alive, and I don't even know if I've seen It's Alive 2 because I love the soundtrack though. So. I will never get sick of Show No Mercy or Hell Awaits. Well, I guess here's the Reap Dog Challenge. Listen to it about 50 times within this month and then check back with me. Like every single day. Like think of it as like Black Sabbath on the radio. Like play. There you go. There's the Reap Dog Challenge. It's like a drinking game. So anytime you hear Sabbath Paranoid on the radio or like, not even that. We can break outside the Sabbath. Whatever radio that is around you that plays just a popular song to exhaustion, you need to listen to your favorite record. So this is everybody's challenge. So if you like I'm gonna take it to the abandoned island that somehow has electricity and a record player to then play these 5 records that you're gonna be stuck with. It's so fucking abandoned that there's going to, be electricity and a record player and no access to then stream and play any other records than the 5 that you brought. Sticking with that analogy, though, you have to listen to those favorite 5 records for as often as they play whatever exhausted tune and then check back with me and maybe you'll see my point. And if you don't, that's fine, too. I can be full of shit, and I'm not saying I'm not. Cam, I've watched is somebody. Okay, that's somebody talking to somebody. Like tomorrow here in Houston, Vincent Crowley's coming. I'll let you know who he is. I know who he is. I don't remember. So Franco, I don't remember that as well. But okay, so Franco's asking, did Crucified Mortals played in Cincinnati? My friend and Ashton. Franco, Ash, it sounds like. And yes, we played in Cincinnati. Fun fact, that show that Crucified Mortals did play in Cincinnati. Fuck, what year was that? December. I think it was 2005. We played with Ash's band Estuary. And then there was another band. I think that was it. I think there was just 3 bands. I recorded both Crucified Mortals and Estuary set, and they sound pretty good. In fact, we were like, I was like, hey Ash, can we put out an Estuary Crucified Mortals split using those recordings? And for some reason, we never did. Probably just because like they said yes. But probably just because we couldn't find like a label that would put it out. So then it got kind of like shelved. But Franco, if you don't, sounds like you don't, because you probably would know if you did. And to anybody that's listening that you give a shit. Crucified Mortals 20 Years Damned. The second disc is kind of like a bonus disc. It has that show then on there. I feel like I gotta go grab one. I was like, does it? It does. I'm gonna go grab one. I forgot. I thought it did. Oh shit. All right, I got it. Let me look. What's YouTube yelling at me? You didn't. I didn't vanish, did I? So here it is. This. Get it. There's a copy if you don't have it. Who the fuck laid this out? Because then it doesn't say on the back. I wonder who laid it out. Let me think for a second. Yes. Yeah, it's on here. It just doesn't say on the back, but it says in here. This too, the Estuary show. Sounds good, it's cool. That. So I answered your question and that much more. Frazier, I have rights to the Black Mass. Frazier, you're like, man, you're like an online metal fucking ambassador. Spawn of Satan is the only Reaper Metal release I have, Cam says. You need to change that. What? No. You can really easily change that. And honestly, not like this is not a sales pitch, although it's a sales pitch. But like one of like the oldest trick in the book of like get it now before it's gone. But like truly, because I'm liquidating stock, do it now because they're literally gone. And I just posted a message about that. They will be gone. Because I did liquidate all my stock, and then there was a distributor in the UK that I got all the stock that they had back after I did, and I was like, oh shit. So then I had restocked of stuff. Nonetheless, that's what I'm blowing out of. I'm almost gone. Because point being, you could easily catch up because you can get. There's 3 different packs. I just came up with dumb names of themes of how they correlated. And there's 3 different ones because otherwise you can get 3 CDs for $6.66. So $2.22. Come on, everybody else paid full price. So you get this. You got to sit out on the sidelines with your only Reaper Metal release, Spawn of Satan, and then now all of a sudden you get to come in and get a steal. So how about that? I better see a cam order after this. ReaperMetalProductions.bandcamp.com. Get them now. All right. I mentioned. Do you know who I'm? I don't know. Right. I don't know if you're even talking to me at this point. Some of this chat seems to be back and forth. So all right. So I'm caught up on comments. I was like scrolling through, so I didn't know who was potentially talking to me or somebody else, or if it was like something I just said and then you replied to, and then I'm that fucking behind. So whatever I said that you did or did not reply to, now that I'm at the bottom of the comments, reply to it, and I'll at least know where the hell we're at. Because here we are with what Franco last said. Oh, great, ha ha ha! I will ask Ash or Zdenka about it. Yeah, I used to drive to Cincinnati for good shows. So I assume Franco that you're in Ohio, or like around, or like kind of the tri-state area. Where are you at? But yeah, you can ask Ash and Zdenka a shit ton of questions. There's a lot of history there. Um, Great people, good bands, good music, awesome to see. Cam, I've seen your Bandcamp. It's mostly records, and I buy CDs. Someone should snag that original Necrophagia Seasons of the Dead record. Cam, somebody did, and you're right. I do mostly sell records on there, but keep scrolling. They're towards the bottom. There are those CD packs for sure. And then for anything that's not available, so like that Magnus, there was this band, this old Cleveland thrash band called Decimation. Um, One of my early projects that I did with Jim Sadist, Kanye. And I think he went by a different title in that band. Nordic Mist. That like came out on a CD. I think Hell's Headbangers actually has like a copy of that CD. So anybody that wants the Tundra Nordic Mist, if you know what I'm talking about, because if you don't, I'm about to tell you about the band anyway. You can grab that CD. I saw it on Hell's Headbangers the other day. So get that if you want to complete your collection of Reaper shit. Because I played bass in Nordic Mist. Otherwise, you can download all that crap. So like Decimation, you're not going to find. The Scarlet Slaughter, or I did, I highly doubt you're going to find that. Because then you could at least download those two on the Bandcamp. Yeah, Cam, check out Lady Beast too. So yeah. All right, we're caught up on questions. I've been here for 142 minutes. So that's almost 3 hours. So let's we either keep the conversation going, or we're going to kind of dwindle down and get on with the evening. Not that I have much planned. Send more brains. Ohio seems to be booming in the heavy metal music department. Up here in Michigan, it has really gone to the crapper. Michigan is full of Lamb of God wannabes and the like. Where are you at in Michigan, though? Because like I've always kind of found that Michigan almost seemed to have it like beat, at least in like, there's just more of like a tighter knit like scene. I always thought like Detroit comes to mind. You know, it makes me think of like, you know, the friends and folks I know up there. It's like Vic from Sauron, Harbinger, Demon Bitch, Wastelander, although I don't think they're from Detroit. Eisenblast, the other band that at least Derek from Eisenblast does, White Magician. I love that. That's like totally like, you know, BOC kind of like heavy metal kind of. So I don't know. I just, that was a pretty decent list. I mean, Ohio got stuff for sure. Always kind of did. But I guess the difference that I'm thinking of too, especially like the Cleveland area, it seems to be a bit, for lacking a better term, and it's probably definitely going to kick me off of YouTube, but like incestual. That like a lot of the same people, you know, like look at all the shit I just kind of talked about that's like I did with a lot of the same people, you know. So kind of that. I felt like Michigan, Detroit area, like had more members that weren't just like, you know, recycled people. Although I mean, there's definitely some recycles too, like, you know, so I don't know. Like you tell me. Yeah. Cam, do you still go to shows? I had a good living in the Bay Area, going to shows all the time. Now I moved an hour and a half away to the valley, and there's absolutely nothing around. I mean, I do. And it's not like, you know, whether like I do or don't kind of, you know, in the straight up answer that is, it isn't so much like a yes or a no in like just the absolute cutoff of like, there's like this absolute definitive reason. I'm definitely just more of like I don't feel like standing around type attitude too. So there's that, which is entirely just, you know, me. Are you going to Dead by Dog? Well, let's just say if I'll be there, I'm not going to be a ticket holder. I'm going to be immersed in the happenings because the guy putting it on wants to hire me to do something. We'll leave it at that because I haven't entirely said yes. Is this a gay fetish show? Sure. Cool. Well, either keep it coming or I'm about to dwindle down. Oh, I missed a few things. Got the Spawn of Satan from Head Split. Totally rules. Oh, killer. Yeah. And then Dylan did the Spawn of Satan cassette, but then he also did the Crucified Mortals Songs of the Dead choir cassette. You're not talking about the cassette, though, are you? You're saying you got the CD from him? Yeah, Demon Bitch Listening Party new CD. I got all three. There you go. Cool. Good to hear. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that wasn't today though. That was last week. I thought that the listening party show came. I love you said I love in Columbus, so you live in Columbus, Indiana, like an hour close to Indianapolis. I've been friends with Ash Estuary since 2003. Yes, a long time ago. Yeah, for sure. Frank, I feel like I've seen your name though before, like either just through this or just I don't know. It kind of 2003, and your name just seems like it wasn't just the internet like that. I recognize your name from, but 20 some years, who knows anymore. Keep it going. Hey, Paul. Yeah, I got. Yeah, okay, cool. Good to know you got both. Yeah, Justin loves Attic. Yeah. I like that one record. I mean, not as much as him. The Invocation, right? Did they? I haven't really paid attention, quite frankly, too. Like they have another album, right? I clearly didn't hear it. It's all on you, Frazier, to ask the rest of the questions, according to Cam, anyway. So keep it going. Otherwise, I guess you got I'm a half glass full guy, I guess, of water. So there you go. That's as much time as you got to think of. Otherwise, the last time I did a freaking live stream, I was listening to The Thing. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch The Thing, and now that I'm busted out the Escape from New York, I realized I didn't watch The Thing. So I'm like, I want to watch The Thing. Embalmer Paul from The Bomber, he's going out with some girl named Anna. She used to live here. Okay. I know who Paul is. Okay. Sweet. Well, yeah, so there we have. Oh no, somebody oh Paul, you weren't here, man. YouTube doesn't like it. It doesn't like F words or F words even with when the U is cleverly flipped out for a V, as one user earlier found out. Similar Branch, if you could pick 3 horror movies to watch before being eaten alive, what 3 movies are they? Well, probably Werner Herzog's remake of Nosferatu would probably be on there. And I guess I'm choosing that one over the original because I know the original so well. And I love a lot of Werner Herzog's stuff, and I feel like what he did with Nosferatu was kind of like, his thing, like what he does with a lot of stuff. Like he has the power of like making a, boring subject that, or an otherwise done subject, like, a documentary about Antarctica, which he did, but then somehow like flip it in an entirely like thought-provoking way of like I just remember in that movie Journey to the End, the Journey to the World's End, I think it's called, the Antarctica documentary. I know this is not answering your question fully, but it's really reiterating why the Werner Herzog Nosferatu, that even in that, like he managed to like put this like just spin on like, you know, when like he interviews these divers that are going beneath the ice and like they're talking about how they're finding all these new forms of life, like thousands of undiscovered life forms a day, I want to say. It was something as crazy as that. And then the guy's just describing it. He's like, then they're the most just disgusting forms of life that would make, you know, science fiction movies. Like, he didn't say this, but it made me think of like, oh, so like The Thing, like just look like nothing. Like these are just the most disgusting creatures that only exist to live inside the anus of one creature and then eat it from the inside in and then become it. And just like, fuck, that sounds awesome. Like, what a great inspiration right there. Like, go Werner. So like, he just has like, you know, like, and this is just from a simple Antarctica documentary that could have been about snow and penguins, although he brought that up too. And then there's the suicidal penguin, and it's just like, what the fuck? So, like, yeah, he's awesome at that. So he kind of did the same with, like, Nosferatu, and then he's German, and that's a German film, so then it's, you know, post-World War II. So, like, just a lot that it really brings out the film dork aspect of it that should go into something like that, and therefore why I'm overly explaining it like that, because my picks of these remaining 5 would essentially be based in such context that it wouldn't so much even be that like, oh, it's my favorite one, you know, I'm going to put Halloween in there because I got to watch it to the umpteenth time. Like, if you've been here this whole, especially if this is the only thing you've ever seen me rant about, like, clearly in this live stream, I've demonstrated how, like, I don't just like, oh, I like it, and then just 40 years later, I'm still listening. Like, I don't know. It's if there's nothing left to experience out of the thing that you love and owned for 40 years, then it's almost like there's no reason to kind of hang on to it, kind of thing. So that's why my picks wouldn't be so much you know, deserted island based. Just answer the fucking question. So Nosferatu, House on Haunted Hill, Vincent Price, not that horrible one from the 90s. Especially that, cause like that would, like, you know, eventually on this island, Halloween's gonna kick around, and like House on Haunted Hill is just perfect for setting that tone. I don't know. What would be the 3 others? That's a hard one. It's a hard one, and literally as the world's what was the scenario? Like, or was it just my favorite movies? I don't know if you made my if it was just like, what's your favorite movies? I think it was. And didn't have like a doomsday scenario. But if we were to up the ante and give it a doomsday scenario, like it would probably, as that volcano or whatever the hell is bringing about the doom was happening, it would probably be my mood even then. So that really doesn't answer your question. I mean, it gave you about 2, but I would still have that, like, clearly I'm complex on this. I wouldn't take my choices lightly. That's the best I can give you without answering your question fully. Great. Fraser's listening to English Dogs, by the way. Yeah, I have seen the new Nosferatu. And my complaints, I don't have complaints. But anything critical, I guess I could say, would be the contrary to what I think most people probably would. Well, I don't know. Never mind most people. Me. So I thought it would be cool that they re-envisioned it as far as like what Count Orlok, or did they go back to the Dracula names? I forgot. Because Werner Herzog went back to the Dracula names, you know, where then the original Nosferatu, it's Count Orlok, but then he is Count Orlok, when it was remade by Werner Herzog, but then Bram Stoker, I guess, was no longer a problem, so he just reverted him back to Dracula. It makes Nosferatu universe a little bit confusing. I don't remember what they did in the new one. So let's just call him Count Orlok because it's confusing to say he's Dracula for most people, I would imagine, include myself. So they re-envisioned Count Orlok, and I kind of thought that would be something I would be all about, and yet I kind of felt, no. I wish they kind of kept him more like he always looked. The mustache had nothing to do with it. In fact, I kind of thought that was cool because that had to probably come from Vlad the Impaler, which Dracula's based upon. You know, the character of Dracula that Bram Stoker wrote about is based upon. But it had really cool visuals. You know what's weird? In a way, I almost feel like if it came out when I was younger, you know, the guy that couldn't even answer a simple question of what are the 5 favorite horror movies, and he can only answer 2. That's kind of what I mean. Like, if it came out when I was younger, I'd probably have been, because then it's just stupid shit that I liked. It had awesome visuals, but like, because I was about to say that I was like, there wasn't anything like frightening about it. You know, it tried to be, and maybe it's just like the atmosphere of it. So that's fine. You know, I didn't need to be, because and then, you know, Hollywood would have made that jump scares and shit, and so I'm very thankful of that, because that would have been really hard to swallow and then put that name on it, you know, and drag it through the mud. But in a way, like, I was just kind of, I guess I was underwhelmed by, not that she did a bad job, but I was underwhelmed by Johnny Depp's daughter shaking all the time. Like, those to me felt like those were supposed to be the horror scenes, and they didn't strike me as horrific as they did. Like, can we just get back to Nosferatu? or Count Orlok? Because her character really wasn't that big in the original stories anyway. So, I don't know. It was good. Night of the Living Dead might be on that list too, by the way. So I got 3 out of the 5. I just love that. You know what? Is it Night of the... When it comes to George Romero, man, that's going to be a coin toss, though. Dawn of the Dead or Night? I might have to go with Dawn. I'm going with Dawn. Yeah. So Werner Herzog, Nosferatu, House on Haunted Hill, not that shitty one. Dawn of the Dead. By the end of this, I might actually have the remaining 2. I got a question. Good. You'll keep me longer, I guess. Do you like Warlock or horror solo albums? Like Warlock, like Doro Pesch Warlock, right? Like, wasn't she in that? I never really gave it much of a listen, quite frankly. Otherwise, if it's a movie, I never seen it. Which there probably definitely is a Warlock movie, right? Yeah, shit, now I'm waiting for more questions, and I'm trying to think of what would be the last 2 movies that I would pick of that. I don't even know, maybe they wouldn't even be horror, but then again, no, because there's kind of that too, you know, like, I love horror, don't get me wrong. I love metal, don't get me wrong. But, like, I guess the taste, like, slightly expanded, but not so much, like, expanded as in, like, you know, and now I love all these different types of music. Like, I love about, like, the same, I've always, like, liked different types of music and different types of films and different types of anything. But, yeah, more so as this fucking, you know, guy that's still struggling with these last 2 movies. It's just that, like, overly, whatever the hell I'm trying to put in the words that maybe I just think of myself and it's not true at all. And more people like that, like, I more so struggle to maybe have that same like flame of passion. Because especially too, like something like, you know, the new Nosferatu, like didn't really the new anything. Like there's a bunch of movies that I've seen recently, like that are good, but like no longer in a lot of cases. Like I used to be like, you know, you got to go hunt it out. I got to go own it. Like now I'm more so in like I seen it. I'm happy with that. Like maybe I'll see it again in another 20 years. You know, it's not that. It's just kind of what my mood toward at least being a collector slightly turned into. But I still like it all the same, if that makes any sense. Wow, that's a screen name to pronounce, and I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna call you XN. Have you ever seen Mad God, one of the few stop motion horror movies, and it's sick? No, I never even heard of it. How old is it? Because I like old shit too. Because they might not now these films might not be going to the desert island. I don't know if those are the stakes at hand either for this top five that I'm really struggling with. Other than like stuff I'm thinking off the top of my head that I just like so when it comes to like silent stuff too, Metropolis is fucking great. And that actually reminds me of the band Imperial Triumphant. Like that's been a recent one. They've been enjoyed just because like their stuff's so weird, but somehow not too weird. When like you know a lot of people like try to do like this more I don't know about ambient or avant-garde. Maybe the avant-garde would be the better description, but like yeah, weird. Let's just say weird. And then it just sticks at that, and then it's like too weird to like. I feel like those guys are doing something that like it's not too far removed, and then I like the visual and like kind of what they're doing in the storytelling department of like that being weird. Like there's this weird like you know horror to like a New York City kind of setting, and I like it, and it's not it doesn't exactly spell it all out. So that would at least be a recent listen. But yeah, but the movie Metropolis somehow like they clearly watched that and like got some ideas, so that's kind of cool too. It helps with the visual to then correlate like oh fuck yeah Metropolis, because then Haxon, Vampire with a Y, great movie, great like just cool because especially stuff of that time, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Although I almost kind of said it in a negative light, so let me double down with like that new Nosferatu. Like, I'm thankful that there was like no modern Hollywood jump scares. Shaking Johnny Depp daughter maybe didn't need his. I mean, it's fine. Who gives a shit? I'm being stupidly critical there. So I felt like they did it in the way of like what I love about like that early stuff. It isn't like it's terrifying, but it's horror. Like. And because it's so old, and it's because it's, you know, back to that Dante's Inferno with the Goblin guy playing, like, you know, it's got the film, degradation in there. A lot of times it's sepia toned, like that adds to that. Nobody speaks, although they speak because then the cards come up on, tell you what the dialogue. Like I love that, and it's very much in line with like, imagine if Michael Myers, the Shape, spoke. And how lame that would be in a horror movie for an awesome horror character. Like, yeah, cool horror characters do speak and stuff's still like, terrifying in that regard. But for certain instances of something like a Halloween or even in a way Nosferatu, I mean, he speaks in the Werner Herzog one, and that's one of the things Werner Herzog did well, or Klaus Kinski playing him. But, some of the magic of the original is like, yeah, you got your a vampire character that looks, terrifying, and like he doesn't speak at all, so it really adds to it as well. What's the last show I've been to? Fuck, what was it? When was it? I don't remember. It was that good. I gotta be honest, I don't remember. I don't. I don't remember. It was that good. I want to. When did you? But what? Yeah. When you brought to talking about that Mad God flick though. What is that like? What is that? Is it newer? Um, then I guess I'm more so like, well, obviously I kind of like the older, but like I more so bring that up too because some of the how to put this without like getting lost in a total tangent. All right, so I like John Carpenter, right? And he has like that new show. I can't see it though, because then I got to subscribe to another fucking platform, and it's just like I'm not. I'm done. I'll wait until it comes on DVD, but then will it? Well, not DVD, but a physical format, and then I'll see it that way. So, Mad God, if it's old, then I might have a chance that I could rent it or buy it or whatever and see it. Because otherwise, if it's a new, it's likely then owned by a Netflix or a streaming service. Then I'm not. I'm not gonna. I just won't watch it then at that point. Like I'm not doing the credit. Put your credit card in, get your 7 free days, and then you forget about it on day 8. And then some. This just happened to me for like Adobe, where then you forget to cancel it on day 8. Somehow it was a credit card that expired, so they couldn't charge it. But then like all of a sudden I logged in my credit card and they did charge it. It's like, how did the fuck does a credit card expire? They send you a new one with a different, I guess the overall number doesn't change, does it? I think the overall number changes on a credit card, the 16 digits. Some information changes, and regardless if it's not the 16 numbers, it's imperative to charge a card, and somehow Adobe was able to do so. And it's just kind of like, make that of what you will. That kind of seems shitty, because like that's just what this culture is. Like annoy the fuck out of you with the the free plan, so then you pay for the premium one, so you don't have to see the ads. Then like yeah, they buy out the people that you know and love that create the good shit, like John Carpenter, and then now you got to subscribe to Peacock, which I never heard of, nor would I like. Fuck that. And it's just like shit like that. Like it's just this new. It's the technology, like where we are, like with art and stuff of all forms. It's cool. There's like cool things you can do. I'll do live streams and stuff like we're doing. But then there's like really annoying shit like that, like streaming services. Like I don't like just like what theater can I go to see it at? Like when's it coming out? Like get back to that. Like not now you exclusively own this right. It's on the service, then it's not because then you moved it, then you sold it, then you did this, and then you can't. Then it's canceled because somebody did this and you don't like it. It's just like Adobe is Adobe Photoshop. Have you heard of Adobe Photoshop? Because then they have a lot of really good products that like I use their video editing software, Adobe Premiere. I use their audio software, Adobe Audition. Like I like their shit. So yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, Frasier, you have Peacock? Have you watched that new John Carpenter show that's on there? I hope venues stick around long enough and don't go to some streaming concert bullshit. Right? It kind of could, right? Though, like, I mean, if they did it alongside, that would be cool. And I guess a lot do. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. At least if like something like a House of Blues, like the corporate shit started leading that way first, and then smothered like the small guy. But in a way, like it does kind of seem like the small guy is getting smothered in certain cities. I don't remember what it was. I felt like there was something that just happened where there's, like some cities like losing, or maybe there's multiple, but there was like in particular, I thought I saw people speaking out about that, like, yes, like Philly or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Had like a legendary place that's like now closing their doors. So yeah, hopefully not. But who's to say, I don't know about that though, like to totally replace it, because like I think like live music's potentially, an irreplaceable thing too. Like it might slightly change as, live has changed overall within the lifespan of live, you know? Go to the 1800s of live. Like, I'm sure it was fucking different. So, you know what I mean? Like, so it'll probably just expand and be affected to however degree. So like so I guess this is what I mean too. Like, what will probably be close to like the streaming live scenario rather than destroy it. They'll destroy it in a different way. So it makes me think of like how there was like Dio holographs or something. Like, they'll probably be like the Slayer holograph or something. And it'll just be like, oh, you know? And like at that point, like, I know they're back around, but let's continue with like a Slayer as an example, because like I bet you because that's not like shitty. It's kind of cool technology that, you know, they could holograph something. You could argue it's shitty. But what I think what will truly make it shitty is they'll start holographing bands that, like, as they're still around, you know? Like, right now it's Slayer that quit, but then they're back, and then they might finally do it, because then at least they'll, like, put Dave Lombardo in there as, like, a fake person, and then, you know, they'll pull, like, an Ozzy with, like, the reissues, where they're like, well, the fans like Dave Lombardo, and he himself is too expensive, so we'll just hologram him in there. We're like, well, Randy Rhoads is who they like, so we don't want to pay the drummer or the bass player to do the reissues, so we'll just hire somebody to re-record them, and nobody will ever know, kind of thing. We'll pay them less money. Like, they'll do shitty things like that, and that'll be what makes it stupid. Like, I don't think like live will like entirely just be replaced, and it will just like incrementally change to things that like the types of live you can experience might outweigh the conventional one. Like, just seeing a band that is alive and the human beings are there playing their music, like, that might not 100%, that won't 100% go away, I'm saying, but it will be intermixed with what then, you know, because everybody, like, the masses like shitty stuff. Like, they have the worst opinion in the world, right? They like horrible food, they like horrible music, they like horrible, you know, I mean, people believe in Jesus. So, so that, you know, so yeah, their horrible tastes will infiltrate and destroy through that, you know. Oh my God, I love holograms. And it's like, oh, you didn't like when the actual human beings were there? Like, that'll happen. Kiss avatars, exactly. Hey, Adrian, aren't you in Australia, or is it New Zealand, or none of the above? I feel like I missed some. I'm scrolling up. I've heard. Yeah, I mean, if you're not down with the holograph thing, I think it's going to essentially put it into question too, as like like at that point, like, you'll probably be just like, if you're an attendee, you like, I think like it won't be as separated in a way, like where it's like, I like live music. Like, I think eventually the industry will just turn into like event goers. And then it'll just all be like lumped into like, you're seeing a movie, you're seeing a play, you're seeing a hologram, you're seeing a concert. Like, it'll just be event going. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing technologically that you could do like the avatar thing, but at the end of the day, yeah, it amounts to nothing. It amounts to no different than it definitely amounts to less than the real thing. And then in a way, it amounts to like, well, just watch a DVD then of the, you know, the Slayer concert that we're using as an example, because then the avatar itself would be, you know, fake, right? Or like programming something that already happened. I mean, that would be really shitty if it was like writing Slayer's music for them, you know what I mean? Or like the AI, like, you know what I mean? Like, how the hell do you explain this? If the hologram itself is constructed by the likeness of a person that presumably, I mean, I guess they are doing living people too. But I was about to say, like, is constructed about a person that isn't alive. So it's all right, regardless if they're alive or dead, like, a hologram is constructed out of the likeness of a person that existed, or still does or doesn't. Therefore, the hologram did nothing original. So if it's going to replicate the art of the original person that it didn't make up a character of Dio, like he existed. So what is it going to do about the art that Dio did or didn't create? Or the performance that he did or didn't perform? Like if it's going to do a performance of the person, is it generating its own interpretation, or is it like mimicking a show that happened? You know what I mean? Where are we at with holograms would have free will? Shit, I mean, you never know, man. It's pretty nuts, man. Like, it feels like I feel like it wasn't 2 weeks ago, but like I feel like in a way, like how it feels time wise, it was like 2 weeks ago that I'm just getting like privy to like messing around with Chat GPT, and then now 2 weeks later, because it wasn't 2 weeks, that it's like now you see it like where it's integrated in like everything. Like you could be on Facebook and it's like, need help writing a post? Use our AI. We've got it. And it's just like shit. Like this stuff is so like this stuff's like catching. It's like blown. It's I don't know if I should use wildfire as a fucking analogy right now, but it's catching and it just you get my analogy. Cam off track, but what about Motley Crue, Vince Neil not actually singing and Tommy Lee fake drumming? That's almost worse than a holograph. And then you put it with Motley Crue music entirely. Like, it's just a travesty all around. I fucking hate Motley Crue. There's not one good record. I don't give a shit if you're that death metal guy that plays that. And even if you are, like, I don't give a shit that I'm not even going to judge you. It is just 100% my opinion, because I was kind of flabbergasted. Didn't really care, but flabbergasted that, like, yeah, there's J-Dog-like people that love brutal death metal and then, like, dismiss stuff that's slightly metal and stuff because it's not heavy enough, but then somehow in their minds Motley Crue has a good record, like, because then the good record that they say they have is not a good record at all. Too Fast for Love, that album sucks, and the lyric writing, particularly merry go round and round. What, Vince? Merry go round and round. Can we write something else, Vince? Merry go round. Like, fuck, Vince, stop saying it. Merry go round and round. So Vince sucks. So fuck that fat bastard who ran over somebody drunk and got away with it. Tommy Lee, oh God. I don't even want to talk about it. And fuck that dumb movie, The Dirt. I turned it off. Like, I'm not watching these fucking people. There you go. If you didn't know, I'm really coming out. I'm really coming off swinging. I hate brutal death metal and I hate Motley Crue. What else do you want to know? Your home, sweet home. That's horrid. I will happily pass. No, their third record's pretty good. There's no record that's good. Oh, God, Nikki Sixx, that douche in the soul pat. Like, oh, let's stop talking about that. Probably it angers the blood around here. Uh-oh. YouTube does not like porn, I think, because Frazier said, hey, Shannon, weed man, freaking porn. So it doesn't like that. How about hate for Kiss? Not hate. I just don't. They just don't care. I know a lot of people love them, and I guess through that you're guilty if you were to say anything bad, because then you'd get that guy like, if it wasn't for Kiss, there wouldn't be all this and stuff, and it's just like, well, that argument makes no sense. If it wasn't for this, it wouldn't be that. It's like, but if it wasn't them, it would have been somebody else. Like, if it was like that's all it would have been. Like, if there wasn't a Kiss, then there would have been Hug, and then they would have been, influenced everybody else, and then we'd all be saying we love Hug, Go see the exclusive Kiss cover band, Hug, coming to a hologram near you. What would Hug stand for? Homo sapiens under. I don't know. Oh shit. I hope that was as funny on the other end. Otherwise, I'm laughing at the wall. They don't like the movie porn. What's wrong with porn? Or I can't say. You can't say it. Like, you know. Look, the funny thing about YouTube rules too is like, I kind of like I did it on purpose with the whole dick handles when we were doing Hellcast to see like, okay, like somebody said earlier, like you can't say fuck, like you can swear in a YouTube video, but if you said fuck or a swear word that it doesn't like there's, it's like the George Carlin joke, right? The 10 phrases you can't say on thing, like, so now it's like the 3 things you can say in the first 3 seconds of YouTube. So like, just so whatever, okay, I won't start an episode. Fuck. But I will start an episode with a dick handle. Because essentially, I guess you could too have like, no, I don't think you can have anything sexual in a YouTube video at all. Let's just go with that, okay? Because that was where the idea of like, oh, dude, like, but if we had like, 'cause then for those that don't know, like dick handles, like literally life looking, dick handles. Woman Angel, the band that on Reaper Metal. So they had that was one of their special items for the diehards where you got a dick handle. I thought it was hilarious, so I was like, dude, we have to. And then we were using them in Hellcast because I thought it'd be great, sign up to like, because that's the thing too, like when you like we have a Patreon, so like you give perks to people that are on there, and I was like, trying to come up with the perks, and I was like looking around what other people do, and it's just like it was like really lame, like for $6 a month, like we'll say hi to you on an episode. It's like, that's it. So I was like, well, if that's the standard, let's up it a notch. Like, how about we light a dick candle and then J-Dog blows it out? That way we could like to the dick candle blowers, and then you get J-Dog blowing it. Like it's the closest to J-Dog blowing. Like it's pretty funny in my opinion. And then it like puts a fucking dick in a YouTube video and you get away with it. And years later, they're still on YouTube. And then the 100th episode is me with a dick candle as the 1, and then I got birthday candles for 00, and that's literally in a thumbnail, and that would be a violation, but it gets away with it. So I'd like to think that I've rigged the system to get away with a dong on on YouTube. You remember those dick candles? There you go. Yes, you can say ho ho, I think. Oh, there we go. So when if Hug were to be the band and not Kiss, it would be Hermaphrodite Unholy Grave. Well, there you go. They'll be your grind band then. Nobody will get the joke though. Or Hug Huge Ugly Girls. There you go. That would be more in the Kiss analogy, right? Or like the glam that it could have existed in. Wasp is the only band with some testosterone. Yeah, I guess. Would you consider Twisted Sister a hair band? Because I kind of always felt that they were they got lumped in there, but were like far beyond, hair band. Emma Watson versus Kristen Stewart. I'd have to know who Emma Watson is. And I think I know who Kristen Stewart is. But who is she? Like, who? Wait, now that I just said that, I'm like, do I know who Kristen Stewart is, though? Who the hell's Kristen Stewart? Old Hellcast joke. Is it true J-Dog used to wear Hot Topic pants with all the chains? No, not at all. Well, apparently you can say dick and dickhead in because it's about at this point it's 3 hours into a video. Like I've said plenty of stuff that YouTube doesn't care. It's the comments, but apparently the comments you can say dick, so you can't say FVCK like the Cavalt fuck and spell it, and YouTube did and will flag it, but dick you can. And you could argue, okay, maybe it thinks you're saying Richard, but dickhead? I'm not so sure about that. So, might have to write to your YouTube uh, your YouTube senator to see what they have to say. Is there a Striper song you actually slightly like? Yeah. There is actually. I couldn't tell you the name of it. I heard it in passing though. Um, a good friend of mine, he's really Christian, and his dad, the music store that closed down, I used to work at. His dad used to work there, and so he was all about like, you know, Christian stuff. So I walked in one day, and his dad was just by himself. And he was jamming tunes, and I'm like, "Fuck, this is like way different than what I expect." Like, and it sounded like 80s like metal. So it was like I knew without a doubt like it must be Striper. Because then I was just like, huh, like yeah, Striper's a little bit cooler than I remember him being. Because I only really remembered To Hell with the Devil and stuff. I mean, I don't like own it or something. I'm not really gonna go out of my way. Granted, in the discussion of this 3-hour conversation, I've maybe divulged how, you know, buying stuff and all that has been slightly a change of character for me, and I'm not as record collecting as it has to have a little bit more like sentiment to buy it at this point, even if it's something I like yeah, just kind of like, look, I don't know, like, because that's too, like, again, like, you're thinking about like when like there was the threat as like as digital and stuff, as the technology was first coming around, like everybody thought like it was going to destroy music, and it, you know, it just changed it. And I definitely felt through the years that I thought for myself like, holy shit, like I think I'm gonna have a problem with this, and like how to think and feel toward owning something, because even if I like it, eventually it's gonna be like, when am I gonna buy this then? Because like, you know, if you think about it, like even if it's amazing, like if I just listen to it online, well then now I'm not gonna like spend $30. And if I'm going to spend the $30, I'm not going to do it right. Like right now is entirely the problem. Like there's probably going to be elapsed time then, because if I just jammed it, but then that elapsed time has come and gone, and even then it's just like it came up and I jammed it again, and then you just kind of get in this thing of like you never buying it. So that's kind of what I mean by the change aspect. It isn't so much like I changed or something, like it just becomes almost kind of practical in a way. Like, why would you? Like, why would I own, you know, a Blu-ray of the new Nosferatu? I just saw it in the theater. It was good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care to see behind the scenes or something of it. And if I did, it's probably on YouTube, or, you know what I mean? Like, all the things that ever made like the classics and the stuff that came from a formatable era of like, you know, appreciate these art forms. And that's my point too, man. Like the art itself is just there to be appreciated. Like now that we're in digital, it's really highlighting that, because we just kind of went through like 100 years, at least as far as music's concerned, from the first time a recorded technology comes out, or cameras with movies and so on and so forth, that like, there was music in the 1800s. There was music in the 1700s. There was music in the 1600s. It just wasn't fucking recorded albums. So like, you know, this whole idea of like digital killed it, and like I don't need to like own it to love it and appreciate it, isn't new. Like you had to do that for 300 plus years. Like it's new to be sold it. It's new to put it as 10 different colors. It's new, you know, so on and so forth. So film and music kind of suffer the most if you're thinking about it the way I do, because if nothing else, even if you wanted it to be that way, eventually, like, especially with how expensive shit is, like a brand new album's like nearly $30. Like eventually, like you're just not gonna be able to afford to care as much as you do, and then you're gonna just have to succumb that like, shit, man, if I can't afford the latest record that I want to get, the $6 digital download or the free stream is just going to be at the way to go. Because at the end of the day, and that's entirely my point, like you could still love music and being a fanatic fan
because like the product aspect just makes you a fanatical collector. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you like. We'll just stick with the Slayer analogy. It doesn't mean that you like Rain and Blood any more than the next guy that has a puzzle, a tattoo, and like it would suggest perhaps because he has more vested in it. But in reality, like I'm proposing no. Like let's get psychological here. Like, does that really make you more vested than the other guy? Like that guy, the guy with the tattoo or his Slayer cut into his arm, could still have listened to it less. And I would argue the bigger fan would be the guy that listens to it on repeat. Kind of like the person that said earlier, like, Reaper's going to maybe get exhausted listening to the same record for 40 years, but I'm never going to get sick of Hell Awaits. And that's where I said, well, put it on repeat like they do with other classic songs, and maybe you'll see my point, maybe you won't. I'm not trying to change somebody's mind. I'm just saying, here's my point. So back to that tangent that has been about 3 hours. So am I still doing interviews? I don't like Angel Corpse, so I would have nothing to ask Pete Helmkamp. That's Justin territory. Interviews I gave up on. When we had Nick Anderson booked and then he fucking flaked, that was the second time I gave up on interviews. Because when we did Into the Darkness, Tommy really had to like fucking like I don't know if it was that hard, but he definitely had to like psych me up. Like there was definitely a discussion of like getting me to do it because like it went back to the Hellcast days that I ever gave up on interviews. Because like the early Hellcast, like that was the very, very, very early Hellcast was literally like a radio show. I'd be like a DJ, we'd go to a song break, and that'd be it. You'd be like, yeah, that was cool, and give a little bit, but it was a lot very radio. And then it eventually became more and more talk. But as it was becoming more and more talk and then still radio, much like radio does too, then you would have like your guest and you have your interview. So when Peter Hobbs, RIP, from Hobbs Angel of Death, I had him booked to do an interview. I did several interviews, a lot of pretty cool ones. But then when Peter Hobbs flaked on me, that was the first time that I'm just like, I really got pissed off about it. Because I spent so much time like putting together a good interview, not how's the tour, what's it like working with Harris Johns, like who gives a fuck? Like he was an ass, like even if he was, like he was an asshole, like what a boring story. So like put a lot of efforts into a good question, and then he flakes on me. So like it just pissed me off, and that was the first time I was like, fuck these interviews. Because then like it was years then later. Then the Into the Darkness, like, hey, you want to do it with me, Tommy? This is what we're talking about. If you've seen Into the Darkness, you know what I'm talking about. If you know what redefining darkness is, if you don't, well now you know. Because otherwise, look on the channel and then you can get yourself familiar. So it's just that it just put a sour taste in my mouth. But before the sour taste, like honestly, I was used up. Like I didn't care to like I didn't have anything else to talk about. And it's still kind of to this day the last person I still would want to talk to, and I have questions for Nick Anderson. It's not to say I don't like things. Like I just don't know. I just don't have anything. I just don't. It's no, and I don't know how anybody perceives it. I mean, every time I do a live stream, and it's been years now at this point that there's no Hellcaster Into the Darkness podcasts, and it's cool that people bring it up. So apparently, it must have meant something, and that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, I don't know how others have perceived it, so it seems like you've perceived it as like, I hope you appreciate it, and that's awesome. So as the guy creating it, it's not like to like. I don't know, to give it could potentially, in my mind, I wonder, it could make it, I could almost like have a negative perspective from some people's view, and I don't. I literally mean it when I always say the same exact response to like, are you doing more of this or that, regardless of what it is. Like I already did the project. Like I used up everything I had, and then I don't have it anymore. I didn't recycle. Like I didn't like, what's top 5 horror movies. I don't have it. And those were the things that made those things cool. But, The Thing is a nearly 40-year-old movie, and it's still cool. Like, you can go back and you can go back and watch that movie, listen to the soundtrack, see it in the theater when places play it. So, like, the same thing with all this other stuff. Like, it can still live on and be what it was for what it is. Because especially your
Your Hobbs, the Angels of Death and stuff who are dead, like they're not doing anything new either. So that's kind of where a lot of my tastes were though too. You know, like I'm not that guy that's like everything new now sucks. It's not that. Like it's just everything new now is different, and I have a different perspective on how I consume it too. And so inherently, it also is like my way about like I don't have Xerox zine mind like I would on something that I grew up with. Like, you know, I too, as a fan of art of any form, whether it be music or movies, like it's just the changing of how consumption has changed me, I guess, or just how, yeah, I don't know. Because there's also something to say, like, I hesitate to say it like this because it sounds arrogant, so I don't mean it like that. But like the other thing is too, like I kind of met a lot of people. And I had nothing to say to them then. Like, it's just kind of like there's that guy, you know, there's Tom G. What am I going to ask him? You know, like I had zero questions for him. And then a lot of people. So it's just like, yeah, I just, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I like Lucifer, Frazier, speaking of Nick Anderson, but actually, loving Nick Anderson's stuff, I actually kind of don't like the Lucifer stuff that he's on. I like it when it was the people from Cathedral more so, when his wife, Nick Anderson's, was doing that. Hobbs played Houston? I didn't know that. I didn't even think they ever came to the States. Some people collect just to collect. They don't actually listen to the album. I know real metalheads like that. Yeah, and that you're right, Cam. Exactly. And that's kind of where I keep. I mean, I guess that's why I become apologetic. I guess in a way, I don't know if I am, but like it seems like it sometimes when you know you retract and explain yourself and why you think that way. So if I am to any degree, like that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I don't want to like sound like I'm poo pooing on a collector or something. Like, but so I'm not poo pooing on them. But from my perspective, like music was there to be listened to, not cool. I got a different color circle, and then I'm gonna put it on the wall. Like, okay, like get a poster then. Just my opinion. Alrighty. I always thought Metal Up Your Ass would be a great name for a metal band broadcast or a metal broadcast podcast. Yeah, but I don't know if YouTube would like it in this wimpy shit. You'd have to kind of use that. But yeah. I mean, well, here you go. XN. That's your. It'll be easier than this. It'll Metal Up Your Ass would be a lot easier name than your screen name is. So if you feel compelled to start your own podcast, there you go. You got your name. Go for it. Oh fuck. This stupid phone. I might have to go. I'm probably gonna lose my battery. Wow. Hobbs apparently did a whole U.S. tour. I would have yeah. I didn't know. Hey, collectors suck. I'm a listener. Yeah, I guess. Nick Arneson. It's Anderson. But yeah. I mean, it's just different, you know, because collecting now too could mean like you bought the Show No Mercy puzzle, you know, and not the 10 colors. Like, so what are you jamming Show No Mercy and then putting together the puzzle and like, fuck, like I'm really living the Show No Mercy experience. Like, I'm pretty sure Tom Ryan had no idea, no thought of a puzzle in mind, you know, when during Hell Awaits. Maybe it's the coolest thing in the world and you can do it with your kids and listen to Hell Awaits in the background. I don't know. I didn't need a pastime to go with it. I could think of worse things in the world. I'm not putting my money to complain about, because if you do, then guess what I'm saying. Hobbs was going to do a tour back in 2019 or 18. You're saying, Cause health, that was around when he died, I thought. So he probably canceled it because of health, right? You're talking about Adam, who goes by his screen name when he's, because if he were to reply, which sometimes he does, as Reaper Metal Productions, people would probably be confused and think it was me. So yeah, you'll see him on his screen name, Layla Lover. That's his wife's name. So he does not love Larry, although I will propose to Adam to change his screen name to Larry Lover, because that would be funny. In the same, I'm the same. I met Joel from Toxic Holocaust and their vocalist and the vocalist from Gorguts, but didn't say much simply because I don't know what to say. Despite the fact I would love to have a beer and talk about Necrovore. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, exactly. I've met Joel. And, I don't like. I like really long ago too. I guess one of the fun stories that I always say for Toxic Holocaust now being as big of a band as they are, uh, when I first started doing any sort of internet site, it was called The Reaper. And it was a web store, I guess, and a web zine, I guess. Like it was very much trying to be both, but you know, early iterations of it. So Toxic Holocaust sent Critical Mass, the demo, the CDR demo. That was the era of like CD when bands would do CDR demos. The late '90s, early 2000s. Yeah, because then it was funny because I remember then like years later, all of a sudden like one of my brothers were like, cause it's like we didn't really have like this like open, like, hey, did you check out Toxic Holocaust? I heard this really cool fucking band. We didn't really have like this, open communication. So it was like I just remember one day like coming home and like one of my brothers was jamming Toxic Holocaust. It's like, how the hell do you know who Toxic Holocaust is? So that's that. Heel Star, huh? Um, Fraser, man, you need to like come up with the meme names of like bands. Regar Mortis, Heel Star. So, um, if there is no Hell's Headbang, if there was no Hell's Headbangers didn't exist, yeah, I read that correctly. It would it would it would hard for me to find good local stores because there's not jack shit in Billings, Montana, as far as extreme underground bands go. Is there shit at all in Billings, Montana? Is my question. Which is one of the. I would love to go out there though. Montana's a bucket list item for sure. You might tell me I'm crazy for having that. But yeah, no, what does anybody even know a band from Montana like historically? That's the real question, right? Because yeah, I would imagine, but I would imagine you're not like just because you're in Montana, like you're not really even alone, even to like, yeah, like, anybody from Chicago here is Metal Haven still around? Because like even somewhere as big and vast as Chicago, like is there really even all that much of like awesome record stores there? LA's got like Amoeba, but like even if you think of a place like LA, like it's like for as many people and fans and great bands, like the overall idea, regardless of what niche it might cater toward, record store, yeah, seems to be overall suffering. Um, because I don't. I'm not exactly gonna like. There's cool record stores around here, but I'm not exactly gonna walk into one and expect to find Sadistic Intent represses from Iron Pegasus. Like so. I don't think it's just limited to. Yeah, Dark Realms in L.A. Are they in L.A. though, or Downey? Or I'm not from the area to know if that's even a drastic enough difference. Um, but I thought it was. But yeah, L.A. County. Okay. So is Orange County something else? Like Los Angeles is in LA County? For some reason I always thought Los Angeles was in Orange County. So what the hell is the significance of Orange County? Okay. Well, then it's always like it's very much not a nor. I mean, I don't think it's an Ohio thing at all, regardless of what city you're in. Because then it's especially an Ohio thing that like if you're in Cleveland compared to Cincinnati, like it's an entirely different. Like it's well, maybe it's right on the river, so right by Kentucky. So it you might as well be in Kentucky by comparison, because then the dialect and the accent's different too. Because otherwise, like nobody says like I live in Akron, Ohio, so like Cleveland's 45. Let's just say it's an hour away. Like nobody would say Cuyahoga. Like I mean, they would, they to a degree, but like not like L.A. shit, where like you don't even have to be from there. You know what Orange County is and what L.A. County is. Like you probably have no idea of Summit County or Cuyahoga County, and you very much probably have zero idea that if you did, you even knew how to say Cuyahoga County. That if you saw it on paper, the way I'm pronouncing it would probably not even mesh with what you would have read and thought. So you might still, by what I'm saying, have no idea what I'm talking about. Because then those are the counties that Cleveland and Akron in. So like nobody would say that; they would just be like Cleveland, Akron. They would say the city. So, it's yeah, that it's a foreign idea to speak county wise, I guess. It's weird well, yeah, record sales. So XN says it's weird. Record stores sales are rising, but record stores are dying. So I work for a company part time with the producer I keep bringing up, Redefining Darkness, Tommy, called 8 Merch. They're a Polish company and they're a manufacturer, really. And they manufacture primarily in Poland, but then they became a fulfillment service as well. I guess in their mind, if a lot of bands are using us, and then ultimately a lot of bands and labels, they sell their product online stores. A lot of people can benefit, because one record on eBay, and then it can even be affordable for you to. I mean, the customer could pay for the shipping, but like the shipping rates are so horrid. Where then like a company though can get cheaper shipping rates, just like mass mail always works, because it's about volume at that point. So then a company that has thousands of clients and outgoing mail, they can now then, if you sign on to use their fulfillment service, essentially, then you can inherit a cheaper shipping rate. So strategies or stats and just ways about running business and selling stuff are forcefully just going to change, that people are just going to have to adhere to it, because it's just not going to be a thing. So I think that's kind of more so what's to your point. Yeah, if the record stores are dying, well, in a way too, the direct sale to, I know that, fan to then artist is very much a rising thing. But that artist then making that direct sale to a fan, then having to ship out that 10 different colors of vinyl that we're bitching about, he may not be able to do that thing, because it's like they just can't. So even though there is an industry of like that, let's say, is like your record store, in a lot of ways, the independency is 100% lost. So like, you're going to have to use something like the company I'm talking about, 8 Merch, that I work for, to then, because like you're just not going to be able to ship shit, because nobody's going to want to pay, $50 to ship an LP to Australia, which, I mean, it's pretty freaking close to being that much. It's horrible, because then you're going to need, fulfillment services that they get cheaper rates because of their volume, and then they're shipping your order for you. So I think that's where the rise is then, like all these more independent reestablishing of what previous industries like record stores, ultimately look like, So I 100% agree. What's your thoughts, Gorguts? What's your thoughts on imprecation? I love their mix of dissonant death metal like Incantation, Autopsy, and Immolation with USBM like Profanatica, Vaughn, and Demoncy. But what's your thoughts? That's the uh, Black Witchery band, right? My thoughts are I appreciated the experiences I had when I filled in playing bass for this band called Sperm of Antichrist. And then we went down to Florida, and then the Black Witchery guys were like the backing band. So we got to hang out. I never liked Black Witchery's music, so therefore I never really cared about imprecation. So a lot of those bands, like, yeah, they'd kind of just like fall into like just kind of some of the styles, like a lot of the Hell's like stuff I'm not really a fan of. So yeah, I'm not a fan of any of that stuff. Well, Autopsy. I do like Autopsy though. Severed Survival is my favorite Autopsy. Fucking love that bass tone on there, man. Whatever is left in LA right now is gone to shit. That sucks forever. Yeah. I fucked. I forgot all about that. But yeah. Hello from France. Good to see you. Hello from Akron, Ohio. Like know the owner of Nuclear War now here in Texas. Oh, Nuclear. Yeah. Yosuke is in Texas now because wasn't he in San Francisco? But yeah, like Vaughn and stuff definitely makes me think like, yeah, Hell's Nuclear War now kind of stuff. I mean, Hell's is a little bit more rounded, with like bands like Lurking Corpses and stuff like that. But a lot of it is definitely still close to that Nuclear War now stuff. I'm not too big of a fan. Frazier, I'm not to throw you under the bus, but sometimes your spelling might throw me off if we're talking about the same band because I thought we're talking about imprecation, not implication. Because there could be implication. Oh, okay. Well, so then we are talking about well, well, as Frazier said, implication. So imprecation. So then Cam said imprecation. So help me out here. I heard implication, imprecation, impercation, and then I was thinking about the Black Witchery demo band that I thought was one of those three titles. It definitely wasn't impercation, so I thought it was also imprecation because it's possible. But Gorguts clarified at least because it was the one that asked the question, so it's not the Black Witchery related one because then I'm not familiar with the Texas one. Okay, yeah, no, I don't know about the one in Houston. News to me. So, is it worth jamming, Frazier? What's your opinion on Antichrist Siege Machine? I think it's probably you're probably gonna have the exact same response to last time I saw Justin, where it's like, damn, you're out of the loop. I must be out of the loop because I don't know. I'm not too familiar. But yeah, no, I am admittedly slightly under a rock. I'm just like a little bit less excited to like keep checking out stuff. Especially lately, I've been more in a listening to my own thoughts and playing my own guitar kind of mood. I've been working on writing, and it's not, it's not to get like artsy fartsy to say that like it influences my writing or this or that. Like, it just becomes kind of like a mood I'm in that like I'll literally be in the car practicing singing instead of listening to a record. So like it just becomes like you can only do so much with your ears when your passion is using your ears and fingers for other stuff. So yeah, because then a lot of the latest stuff you've really been heard more recently was use mostly like kind of what's like around me happening. So a lot of like what Redefining Darkness has been doing. Somewhere there was a new Sadist record that I heard that I was like, this seems very boring and bland. So I don't know. I hope, yeah, I hope it's just kind of a phase. I'm not as excited about some shit as I used to be. Cool. Well, it's cool to see that. Yeah, there's like, you know, some people that know each other here in the comments. I am going to bail. I appreciate everybody showing up here though. It's been a good time hanging out. And it always is. Yeah. So today, I basically, like anything else, I just reiterate though the whole point of like this Reaper Rants thing I'm doing now. It's just kind of my way of like, you know, I do have like content ideas, as I always did, even though when people ask me about the Hellcast or the interview stuff, like I always like, oh, I came and saw, I did, I'm done, I have nothing. Like, you know, I do have things, so that's kind of where it's like, well, I'll do these Reaper Rants. But that's the point of them. They're off the cuff and they just kind of happen, so they're not like scheduled or like forced out of me. Do I want to be like my brother? No. I think that's pretty obvious in 38 years of existence. We are our own people. When I say no, I don't like mean it in a, you know, a make fun of sort of way. I mean it as like we're in our own people. We have our own interests and we do our own thing. I say it like that because I'm very well used to being lumped into like, well, your brother likes it, and just kind of like, so like I'm the only person in the world that has siblings. Like, if you have siblings, like, do you like everything that your siblings do? Do you know everything about your siblings? Do you call your siblings every day? You know what I mean? So like, you know, if Frank likes it, how do you not like it? Because Frank likes rap and I like metal. Like, you know, so Justin likes a lot of brutal stuff, like brutal, you know, and death metal and all that, and I don't, you know. So we just have different tastes. I mean, I guess I'm making up excuses for myself and my tastes, I think, but I do think maybe in a way, uh, I like producing music. I love like I said earlier, I love recording. I love the process of it. I love putting together a record. And so I like playing guitar. I like playing bass. I like doing vocals. I like figuring out. I like writing vocals. Like I like come up with ideas. So like I think I'm a consumer in that way too. So like if it's somehow just, you know, I look further into it. So if some shit just, you know, it doesn't survive the deep dive, I guess. And it's just me. I'm not above or beyond it kind of thing. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm some sort of elitist and, you know, I'm this great musician and everything's below me. Nothing like that. You know, it's nothing snobby. It's just very much everything I've been saying for probably, you know, this whole time. That's just like, to me, listening to music is different than just putting out a record sometimes. Sometimes it's grab a guitar and like play, you know. Sometimes it's not even playing fucking heavy shit. Like I'll play acoustic guitar, work on finger picking or something, you know what I mean? So, yes, I am the youngest brother of the family. We have a younger sister. If you need, here, let me break down the Horrible family tree for you because I don't think everybody knows. And they seem to wonder and maybe get some facts straight from the things that become hearsay. So you heard it here first. There would be my brothers from another mother. That would be the oldest Horvils. They're you know, not into metal really at all. And then there would be my immediate brothers, so the ones that you're thinking of for the Hell's Headbangers, Eric, Chase, Justin, in that order. Then there's me, and then there's my sister. So there you go. My sister's not so much a metal fan, although she kind of likes, you know, like, what's that band? There's a band that has Infernal Majesty in the title, but it's not Infernal Majesty. Stuff like that. I don't really know. We don't really relate over music too much, but she likes different kind of heavy stuff. No, not Nickelback. I don't know anybody that likes Nickelback. Oh, I know. I think it was my dad. But my dad's old. Like, what's like? He doesn't know. He ain't buying records, so he ain't fucking buying their record or going to the show. Someday there's gonna be a Reaper hologram. Oh man, probably. Like, there's gonna be a hologram of anybody though, because as we all exist. Do you know what's fucking weird, man? And this is serious shit too. Like, I'm not just making this up. Well, first off, I challenge you, if you have not, mess around with Chat GPT. Like, have a conversation with it. You need to know how to talk to this stuff to actually see what it really is going to mean. Like, it's not going to be instant Terminator, and to some degrees, it might not even have a chance to be Skynet. Because then any of the stuff is going to then be more so how you can talk to it, just like you would for a human being. Like, you could hire Rick Rubin to produce your record. Like, if you don't know how to tell him what you want, he's not going to exactly do the best job. So I challenge you to try some Chat GPT. Have it help you with something just ask it something fucking crazy that you would never think that it would know, and you will be freaking blown away. Because then dick around with the art, because then that leads me to my scary point. So the AI art and stuff is pretty amazing. And since we all exist in a social media thing, well, first off, where do you think AI even got all this intelligence? Like, everything that it learned through dummies like in Walmart, through all this stuff that you fed it, and Zuckerberg and shit that were supplying you this free social media service. Well, the days of it not being remember when Facebook just used to be you friended somebody and then you would see their posts, where now it's not, and it's mostly ads. We're getting on to the point whatever versions of all this technological stuff. And so that's very much where this AI has all its data and knowledge, is from what everybody fucking didn't realize they were giving away to it for free. Which is, by the way, one of the things that when I kind of stopped doing podcasting and stuff in general, was one of the things is I was like, dude, I'm sick of this shit. First off, I got into podcasting, not elaborate video making and then shorts and then Instagram posts and then quizzes and then all this shit that goes into hey, we did a new episode, listen to it. No, you got to get this to get their attention. You got to do this. And it's just what it is though. I'm creating shit for Zuckerberg to be happy, because you can't be hey, there's a new Hellcast, here's the YouTube link. They won't show it. So if you're even using that to grow your shit, well, at the end of the day, what it's really there for, because it's free, is so that you can keep everybody on Zuckerberg's shit so he can cash in on your talent. So even if it's your fucking wedding photo, your kid photo, you blew a fart. If you're posting about it, people are engaging it, you're giving him free hours of that person's life to stay on his platform, to which he's going to sell them ads. But then he's collecting your data in the background. So now we have a really, really smart computer that can tell you everything you want to know about imprecation, everything you want to know about the Horrible Brothers, everything you want to know about this, that, because now it has my face, it has your face, it has all this shit, it has a nice fucking HD video. That's what I mean. There will be a hologram of everybody at some point, because we all gave it to them for free. And you should be pissed off about it. I was. That's why I gave up, because I never got a paycheck from Instagram, and I got a lot of followers there and a lot of hits, and it's just fuck this. If YouTube pays you for your shit, why doesn't the other stuff? And I know some of the other ones are rolling out, like your TikToks and your crap. This is getting political, so I might as well hang it up. But I want to leave people with that thought, though, because you are getting ripped off, and people love hanging out on social media. So at least put down the social media and start listening to your records or the things that actually mean something to you, because this social media crap is just there to fucking rob you blind and waste your time to sit on there, because eventually it's just going to, you're not even going to get in touch with the people that you want to get to know, and there might actually be a robot on the other end or a hologram. And then meanwhile, the person was dead a month ago and you didn't even know. you know, and you're talking to a damn hologram. You have a video chat with it, and it's like, hey, Frank, I didn't know. And then you find out he's dead. Like, what do you mean he's dead? I talked to him yesterday. Well, that was a hologram of him. Like, nobody's going to send you a mass update to let you know when the hologram kicks. So it might be here sooner. So yeah. Frazier, how do you get booted off of Facebook? Yeah, there you go, man. Like, I guess I'm not alone. I'm good to see that. Yeah, but it isn't like a current administration and all that, like Skynet something, like, especially the orange hair guy. Like, he's gonna take credit for shit he didn't even do. So so even like because I was about to say, like, he didn't start Skynet, but he'll fucking tell you that he did. Because then a lot of the shit that, like, yeah, like, whoever, you don't even know who's, you won't know, and you don't know who's even going to be liable for the Skynet Terminator scenario. But I don't think Skynet's actually going to transpire in the Terminator Doomsday that they say it is. Like, realistically, all this future tense, like, Doomsday crap, we're already in it. Like, fires are happening and all this shit. Like, do you remember the 90s when they were saying that shit was going to happen and then Jesus is going to come any day? Like, because then, like, they kept getting the date wrong. Because the last date I remember hearing was, what, 2012 with that one nut? And then, you know, you got the date wrong. So, like, in the reality is, like, did they get the date wrong? Like, no, it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. Like, the world just didn't shut down and end and die and blow up. It just, we're in it. So fires in LA, this and that, it's because catastrophes, like, we're in it. Like, yeah, it's, you know, it doesn't snow here as much as it used to. I remember being a kid. It doesn't snow here that much anymore. Like, we still get that cold as fuck week in January, lo and behold, and we got that this week. But otherwise, like, it's very much, if you got a memory, you can remember differences. Like, so we're in it. Like, the changes are already happening. So, like, the wrong context of thinking is, like, yeah, to assign blame, fine, or worse, thinking that it's up and coming. Like, we're already in it. So navigate it responsibly for what it will. And yeah, be careful of what you put on the internet, because that's what I was about to say. With the AI shit and the impressive quality it has, it's a fact. I don't know where I got it from, and maybe I'm adhering to my own, you know, proposed guidance that I should be more wary with. So wherever I got the source, it was, at least, if it's right or wrong, it was at least scary. And what I was saying, that the most people that are suffering from AI art right now are young, pretty women, because AI is then, and people are then finding their pictures off of, or videos, and using it, because then if you use, like, AI art, again, you got to know how to talk to it. So, like, hey, AI art, can you make me a life-size looking photo using this person's face and put it on, you know, a naked body? Because then they're using that to then create fake but real looking porn videos of people then that, like, they see it and, like, holy shit, my fucking face is on that. Kind of funny if you think about it, but not gonna be too funny when it happens to you or your daughter or something. So that's the navigate wisely, I say, because yeah, like, I don't know, man. I just remember, like, I thought it was really weird that's, like, you know, you'd see, like, ginormous shit like Walmart be like Walmart on Facebook, and as most people are doing it, and you're just thinking, like, why would you do that? Like, first off, do you like Walmart, or do you just go there because you have to? You know, it's like, and then you, what, after you're done with Walmart, you typed it into a search and then clicked it. Like, this, I would never go through that much effort. Because why would Walmart want you to? Not just because they're friends with you, you know? So here we are. So it might be Walmart that's putting your fucking face on it. So I don't know. Be careful. Yeah. But yeah, so as much as I would like to share philosophy as per Reaper, maybe we'll save that for the next one. That does take me back to how I've ever become a face on the internet doing creative content. I've always reminded myself I wanted to keep it more music based, even when, you know, the political stuff kicked in. and I've always tried. And I think, you know, that was maybe one of the cool things that people appreciate about Hellcast. Not so much that they notice stuff like that, but through that effort of like trying to dodge, like, all right, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be another person that's fucking talking about the orange guy kind of thing. So here we are here with Reaper Rants. Like, I don't want to be another fucking person that's like really diving in about that. Because it is what it is, and we're all in this fucked position together. So we might as well make the most of it and make good, intelligent decisions. So don't put your dong on the internet or your face, because an AI might fucking, you might find it in the worst place. Says the guy that put a dick candle on his face on the internet. All right. Oh, I appreciate that. Did I? This stream was great, he says. Yeah, cool. Well, then that's exactly what I'm trying to do. You know, just come on here, have a cool little topic that at least keeps me talking until everybody else feels talkative, and then we get into the comments and then find ourselves lost in a cool conversation outside the point that I came here to say an hour and plus later. So I thank you for joining me and everybody that's here. We had a pretty solid count too. For a while there was like a solid 50 people. That's pretty fucking like solid for you know, like a small live stream sent, because then when you actually like do that, you know, what Fraser? Do I still have Facebook? Because I don't have you still on. Yeah, I have it. I have Facebook, Fraser. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you do or don't add me on there, I wouldn't really be too butthurt if you got the ad. The only thing the only reason why I have a personal Facebook is just because you need it to have a business one. Like, I don't use it. You know, I don't. Yeah. So this is if you want to get a hold of me, here's the best. Like, we're really getting a hold. So, you know, because then it would be probably brutally slow. You'd hear back from me, and you'd be very disappointed to see that I post nothing and how boring it really is. But yeah, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And yeah, if I see you on there, I'll add you. But you might have been keep changing your screen names, and I didn't recognize who it was. But to any degree, yeah. So if you're of like Fraser and you see me on there and you're trying to add me, by all means do so. You'll be severely disappointed when you do, but go ahead if you want. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody joining me here today for this new installment of Reaper Rants. It's been a long time we've been here, so I appreciate that. It's been a good time. And with that, I don't know when the next one will be, but there will be a next one. It'll be just like this, off the cuff. So, you know, you'll get the notification. I'll try to be better, but I've been saying that every single time, and I don't think I've been better. I think I gave about a 15-minute like little thing and that I think YouTube sent out by the time I got on there. So, you know, I'll do a little bit better in that regard. So you do have time. Otherwise, you know, if you make it, you make it, cool. Otherwise, you know, you could watch in the replay too, and that's just as appreciated. But I get it. There's a live quality sense too, so that's cool that you give a shit to participate in the chat, because I'd be chatting to the wall, and certainly wouldn't have been here this long if you weren't. So appreciate you for being here, giving you some time from your Saturday. It's been fun. Yeah, cheers, Baphometic. I'm getting like blasted in the face with light. I'm like, shit, I gotta get my eyes a rest too. But Fraser, Deadite, everybody else, all the silent people that are sitting there, because we got more people that are commenting, clear by the number. Appreciate all being here. And until next time, I'll check in with you. And in the meantime, Adam Layla Lover, not Larry Lover, is posting daily videos. So check those out too. Adam's a cool guy, and really just excited about music. So, you know, a lot of the stuff too, you can perhaps discover through his excitement and all the shit that he's doing. So check those out if you have not. And check out today's video that he would be posting, and then there'll be a new one tomorrow. He's doing a video every single day, as is his New Year's resolution. So far it's January. We'll see if he has gym syndrome. So, alrighty, cool. Well, cheers everybody. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.